Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SimPlay Motorsport. It is the season finale here, not only for all three championships, but for the pros. GT4 and the Pro-Am have came to an end. Pro will finally end here at Donington. And for the second time this week, it will be the Donington decider. We had it in the GT4s where four drivers could take the championships. Two teams could have won them. And tonight, it is all about two drivers. It is out of Tardok and Sylph. We're not on board them at the moment because they're currently sat in the pit lane, but Tardok and Sylph are the two drivers who can take the championship now. We'll give you the circumstances at the moment. Tardok had a cracking week last week, pulled a lot of points back, but a penalty dropped him down the order in race one, meaning the gap is 30 points. With 113 to play for. So it is still such a small number, but 16 drivers on the track. It is a big ask. Tardok needs a good couple of results and Sylph to have a bit of bad luck for it to go his way. I'm Matthew Duffin, joined in the commentary box once again by the dynamic duo, the Ant and Dec of the commentary world. It is Kelly Davis in the box with you. Sweet and Sticky bringing you it for one last time. Kelly, good evening. 30 points is not a big margin. But Sylph and Tardok are going to be gloves off, no team orders here. It's all action tonight.
Absolutely, don't go anywhere. This is going to be an absolute all-action night tonight, and the field will be very close tonight. It was all week around this Donington Park track, and it will be tonight. There's going to be the fly in the ointment, the man who's half a second quicker than the MSA boys at the moment, and that's going to be Kieran O'Reilly. He's going to be the fly in the ointment, and look out for Dan Davis. Good round the British tracks. Final swan song for the Porsche. And it's going to be a great night tonight, Matt. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it.
It's going to be interesting, I think, to see what cars stay and go for next season. There's a lot of rumours about a lot of teams and a lot of changes in the cars throughout this championship and going into next season's championship about what is or isn't going to be used. One thing is for certain, we know that Porsche is going in the bin. We believe that Ben's also looking at a car change. You'll probably know a bit more than me. We believe that Ben's looking at a car change. We're not going to go into what. We don't want to give too much away at the moment, but we believe that he sort of fell out of love with that Aston as the season's gone on.
Yeah, it hasn't really done him well towards the second part of the season. He was very much best of the rest after the MSA and O'Reilly and so on and so forth. But he's kind of not vibed with it in the second half of the season. Yes, and I know both of the guys are staying Team Audio Sport for next year, and they've already started their testing with the vehicle they want to use. So it's going to be exciting. Dan will certainly come back with a bit between his teeth, and it will be very interesting. And also to see what the MSA boys do if they stick with the Mustang. I think it's going to be a Mustang heavy season next season, and we'll see how many people can actually drive it and tame it.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season to see. We love this time of year because, I say we love and hate this time of year because we hate the fact that the championships are coming to an end, but we love them, that excitement and that buzz around who's going to be teaming, who's going to be driving what cars are we going to see on the field. And you talk about the best of the rest there is still so much to play for in this championship. Dan Davis, third place by 9 points from Kieran O'Reilly, 10 points clear of Will Friedman. Ben Hoopert is still in that. He's only 24 behind, sorry. And Ben Rutt can even sneak up for a third place. So much to play for in this championship tonight. Not just that championship win. We've also got a good battle for second place between Audio Sports, SimPlay Racing and Greasy Bandits. That's one that we're going to keep our eyes on, as well as a couple of midfield battles here as well. Jamal Cloud and Matt Wright and Mike Matthews, 30 points separate them three for top 9. So honours for the top 10 this season of who's going to do what, Kelly. It's so much to play for, so much to decide. And Donington Park, the home of SimPlay, is where we're going to do it.
Absolutely, yeah. So don't go anywhere. Just quickly, Rob Smith in the chat. Kelly, before the action gets started, our Audio Sport having a stall at Offset this Sunday. No, Rob, I'm not. I haven't done trade stands for a very long time. I value my weekends, and I don't want to work on them. So unfortunately not. I didn't even realise it was Offset this weekend. So
BTCC this weekend.
Yeah, this Donington Park again. Well, you can mean, it's busy lives. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we went offset last year. I wasn't all that impressed. So yeah, we'll see what happens on Sunday. But yes, of course, it's the start of the British touring car season this weekend. You'll be there, won't you?
Be there, yeah. Tomorrow morning, be there at the campsite, rocked up. Rob Ramsell, Steve Millington. Jamie Brazier is there as well, obviously driver for Evolve. So if you are at Donington, make sure you come drop me a message. We'll come and say hello. We'll have a drink, and if you're there that night, we'll have a track walk and everything. We'll do all the good stuff and have a few beers. Because as the great Kelly Davis once said, what was it you normally say about when you have a beer with somebody?
Well, you're not friends until you've had a beer with somebody. When you've had a drink with someone, then you can call them a friend. Of course, if you don't end up having a fight. But
there'll be no clicking at Donington this weekend. That'll be guaranteed. And if you know what I'm on about, you understand. Not from you. You're not there. But no, if you are at Donington Park this weekend, make sure you drop me a message, and we'll try and have a nice face to face. And we'll always be there. There'll be the SimPlay banner on the hill at the Crane of Curves, I'm sure, to keep your eyes out for. But the Donington Decider, and one car that we saw in the British GT a few weeks ago that didn't look massively strong, leads the pack. It's the Honda NSX of Kieran O'Reilly. He's got his wheelbase fixed. He's back. It was all to win the GT4 title, which he did do, but he's also now come to play in that Honda one more time. And Kieran O'Reilly, I want to have an interesting conversation. We've got 4 minutes left to practice. I want to put something to you. I've been thinking about this all week.
Right.
Now that Kieran's back, if Kieran didn't miss last week, Kieran would have possibly stayed ahead of Dan in the championship.
Yeah.
But who do we think is best of the rest driver this season? Silf and Tarlock have been the clear-cut best two. Who's been that third best driver? Because I know Dan's third at the moment, but is that because O'Reilly missed a week with drop scores ending the week before that, so it wouldn't have counted for his drop score? I'm leaning towards O'Reilly. I think that race win and a few more podiums that he's had over Dan kind of puts him in that best of the rest category. At the same time, Dan deserves it, Hoopert deserves a shout, Ben deserves a shout. So it's a tricky one.
I'd probably throw Will Friedman into that mix as well, because he's had some...
Came in late, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it would be hard to pick one. I mean, Kieran O'Reilly has had to struggle with that Honda. However much you love Hondas, it isn't the ideal car around here or on this game. Same with Dan. The Porsche isn't the ideal car. He found out that the hard way. Will Friedman has done his best with the Porsche. So it's hard to say. And Ben at the beginning of the season was good. Hoopert's been strong. But I think you've got to just look at the results at the end of the day. To put a championship together, you have to run with roll with the punches, is what I want to say. You've got to be in it to win it, and loads of other little ditties like that.
100%.
But you have to be there, and you have to finish the season. So I think you've just got to look at the results, and I think, as I said it again, I think next season is going to be very, very interesting. Is Kieran going to stick with the Honda? Is he going to go with something a little bit more compliant?
3 seasons. Sorry.
Is he going to continue with that and have a full crack at the title?
Well,
we know Dan wants to put his crown back on. He'll be back and strong. Don't rule out Overtaker for next season either, because he's got the minerals. Cloudon's got the minerals. All
Friedman,
these people Friedman. Mike Matthews has been close to it a couple of times over the last few seasons. Ben. Next season is going to be a classic, an absolute classic.
So I'm just looking at the stats here. Had O'Reilly turned up last week, with O'Reilly not turned up last week, we know the drop scores don't count for the last 2 weeks, so O'Reilly's drop score would have been 0. He would have gained 37 points, which would have put him 28 ahead of Dan. That isn't how it works. Dan's taken 4 podiums this season. One second and 2 third places. We then go down to the likes of Kieran O'Reilly, who took a race win and 4 seconds, never been on the third step. Jamal Cloudon's only had 3 podiums, 2 seconds and a third. Overtaker's had a win and 2 thirds. Will Friedman, he's had 3 wins, a second and 4 third places. So like you say, with Friedman coming into the championship late, you kind of look at who's done what. If you was to go off that and Friedman been here for the start, maybe you look at Friedman as being that best of the rest. Ben this season, he's had a good... Ben's the one that surprises me, and this is how consistent Ben's been this season. This is the point I'm getting to, sorry. 1 third place, and that is it. So that shows how many times Ben, and if you think back to early on in the season, how many fourths and fifths did Ben have early season? Good, strong points, not on the podium, but while others was on the podium and then having a bad race, on the podium having a bad race, or the opposite way around, Ben was consistently 4th, 5th most races that put him up that order.
You know what? I mean, it's been said a million times, and usually by me, consistency is the key. You know, you don't have to be the quickest driver. You don't have to have the fastest car, but you do have to be consistent through a season, and that's what Ben has done. He's kept his head down. You know, took the results and has, you know, been consistent, and that shows, and it's a good trait for a driver. I was going to say that again, if you look at Kieran O'Reilly and where he might have been. You've also got to look at some of the bad luck that he's had this season. You know, he's been right in the fight for, you know, 1st or 2nd place, and you know, dropped it himself or been involved in an incident or whatever. You know, so all these things are relevant. You know, it's but you got to look at results at the end of the day.
You speak about consistency there, and on a couple of these tabs we have on the spreadsheet that we use for the tables. This is Ben's consistency. So this is points scored in total that week. Obviously, the lowest score would have been dropped. 55, 57, 63, 63, 75, 55, 82, 45, 41, 40, 35 last week. So pretty consistent. We have just lost a driver. Maya McGowan. We've lost Van Zyl from the start grid from 2nd place. Okay. Let me compare that to someone like Dan, who had a 75-40, 80-35, 82-35. So you're seeing that pattern. Good score, bad score, good score, bad score. You know, whereas Ben kept it around that 50 to 80 mark and you know, kept it around that. That's what, like you say, gets you them points. Recent weeks, Ben has slowly started to drop off the pace a little bit. And then when you look at the likes of Sylph here, 105, 75, 80, 106, 70, 95, 67, 91, 67, 76, 66 last week. That's the kind of consistency you're talking about. Skunky misses the start of the race, and Van Zyl has had a breakdown at work. He's just put in the Discord, so he is going to have to leave tonight's race, meaning that he will miss out. Hopefully he can get it sorted or whatever to be maybe back in for race 2, but he will miss the start, or he will miss race 1. So the grid order then gets underway. That is a shame to not have Van Zyl on the grid for the final race of the season.
Absolutely.
And on the grid for this final time. It will be everybody bumped up a spot because of that, and because Williams isn't here. It will be Maya alongside now Ian McGowan in that P2 spot. Carlos will now be bumped up into 3rd place alongside Mike Matthews. Mike in a very good position there in P4 now that he's been bumped up 2 spots to possibly get a good result out of this. Matt Wright will be P5 with Jamal Cloud and P6. They stay alongside each other just up 2 more spots. P7 and 8 will be that of Overtaker and Ben Ruck. That is 7th and 8th. 9th and 10th will be Will Friedman and Hoopert then. Hoopert from Will Friedman is what I've got on my screen. Then it'll be O'Reilly from Dan Davis, the battle for 3rd place, and them two went side by side in a practice race earlier down the Craner curve, so expect dramas here. It'll then be Tardock and Sylph before Skunky rounds out the final row of the grid. And MSA Racing, gloves off in the team. I think this could be like an all-out kind of war and an all-out fight and battle here. We saw last week, didn't we, at Watkins Glen, going on to the inner loop, the bus stop chicane, that Friedman and Sylph was, before they had a bit of contact in race 1, it was gloves off, it was all action. They was not letting anybody get the upper hand in that race. This is going to be... This has got multi-21 written all over it, I think, here. There could be some dramas tonight.
How good of friends are they? That's the question.
I don't know, but relationships could be ruined.
They could be, absolutely, and that's what I'm wondering. You know, as I said, I don't know how good of friends they are. I mean, you know, are they good friend teammates or?
I think so. Yes.
Let's hope that that they still end up good friends, and that might add to it. To be honest, you know. So I mean, I've had many teammates over the years, and you know. Some that I vibed with and been on board with 100%. Others I haven't, you know. So it's
once an audio sport driver, always an audio sport driver.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Unless they don't like the name and reject you, of course.
Well, of course, but hey, some people on the shortlist, some aren't. What can we say?
I tell you what, qualifying is going to be interesting. Not only will we just get into a little bit about the endurance event that's coming up in a week's time, but we'll also get to hear from Kelly Davis, who could tell us a fantastic story of what happened at work today. That's an absolute belter. You're going to want to buckle up for that. But it's the penultimate round of the season. We're about to get ready here at Donington Park. It's Meyer on pole, and we are for round 23 of the season. Green and go, and it's a great start from Meyer, who pulls away from McGowan already at the beginning of the pack. Carlos slots into P3. Clouden looking right around the outside of Mike Matthews, who comes back at him into Redgate corner. Ben taps Overtaker, who gets involved with Hoopert, and I believe that was a bit of O'Reilly as well. Dan Davis and Clouden now side by side through the Craner curves. There you go, and all managed to stay nice and clean through there. But it was a bit of dramas. Ben definitely tapped the rear of Overtaker, who stays in front, and I think that's Tardock. It is Tardock who's on the outside as they climb up towards McLean's for the first time. Will he look up the inside late here? O'Reilly side by side with Freeman in the background, nearly into the back of Ben, and we all get away well, apart from Hoopert, who was around and by Skunky.
Yes, there was a bit of a shockwave towards the back. I'm on board with Stilt, who's not going forward at the moment, but there was a shockwave from that incident that flowed all the way back, and I'm surprised more cars didn't go off at that. But who was the winners out of that? Dan had an absolute stonker of an advantage through that one. Freeman went backwards. O'Reilly's not making progress. Tardock going forward, and so's Overtaker.
Clouden makes the lunge onto Dan into the Melbourne hairpin. Dan could get good traction out of here in that Porsche, and he does manage to pull himself back alongside this of Clouden in towards Goddard's now to end the first lap. Up the inside goes Dan Davis. Clouden has to wait for another day as as Carlos was putting McGowan under pressure further forward. Dan and Clouden, rivals from the other season, going at it. Clouden looks left, he looks right, he's going to look up the inside into Redgate corner, tries to move but gets early on the brakes as to not go into the back of Dan. And now Mike Matthews further forward, looking onto the back of Carlos as they come down the Craner curves for the second time here at Donington Park. It is Meyer, though, who's extending that lead out front, Kelly, and doing what he needs to do as Mike Matthews runs a little wide there on the exit of the old hairpin, and this is now going to put play into Carlos's hands. He can power his way up towards McLean's.
Absolutely, it's all still very close except Hooper, who missed out. Clouden having another look up at Dan on the Matt Neal overtaking spot, which he managed to do it every time just there. What's that, McLean's, isn't it?
McLean's,
yeah. So they're onto the SimPlay straight now, and Dan is now all over the back of the GTR of Matt Wright, but it's going to take compliance to get through the chicane together, and we haven't even started talking about track limits yet.
No, we haven't even started talking about track limits, and the chicane is one that will absolutely bite you if you get them wrong. Tardock is now sat on the back of Overtaker's Clouden. Darts to the outside, misses his braking. He's going to lose a handful of positions, and Tardock got an absolute piece of a switchback up and under on Overtaker, who was a sitting duck. Sylph sat down in 12th. Tardock with fastest lap up in 9th now. Up in 8th now as he's ahead of Overtaker, and Clouden taps the back of O'Reilly and lets him go. Sylph and Ben Ruck looking to fight as well as Sylph moves to the outside line of Ben Ruck. Down towards Redgate they come to start lap 3 of this race. Sylph turned in a little early there, and there was Ben. They didn't meet each other thankfully there though, but it's all playing out.
Ben sideways. Sorry mate, Ben was sideways. That's giving Sylph a run round the outside. They're going to go side by side through the Craner curves, and who's going to come out? Sylph comes out on top. Ben gave him plenty of room down through there, but he was on struggling with the back end.
Ben was not happy coming through the old hairpin there at all. He's held on to that well, and I tell you what, well done Will Freedman to not just plough through the side of Ben as he was all out of control there. Freedman did not know which way to look, never mind drive. The driver who sat in the box seat, Kelly, Meyer at the minute, 1.3 seconds checked out. There is a queue forming behind McGowan, who's just come back from his holidays, and Mike Matthews cannot get any pace over Carlos as he nearly rear ends him coming through the chicane. And let's talk about the chicane, because the entry into it is fine. It's that second curb as you come down then towards the Melbourne hairpin. If you take too much of that, kiss that gravel trap, that could ping a track limit warning, and it did last night for several drivers.
Absolutely, several drivers, and I fall victim to that on GT4. You try to get greedy on that chicane, it pings up straight away. I was on my last warning before things went south last night. It's very easy to track limits on this one, so we've got to keep an eye for that. And as I said, if you're going to go side by side with someone through that chicane, it takes compliance on both parties to make it happen. Again, you get run wide, the game doesn't care. It'll still give you a track limits warning.
It will indeed. We've now got a bit of a train behind Mike Matthews, who got a horrible run through the Melbourne hairpin then as they come through. Also out on the outside of the old hairpin, in the outside of McLean's, or we may as well call it Matt Clane's, haven't we? Seen as Matt Neal, and someone else did it beautifully a couple of times Tuesday night. Wonder who that was. There's Carlos now looking on the back of McGowan, but Mike had Carlos. I say now, Myers lost his whole lead, and Carlos up the inside into Coppis. Can he get the traction out? Tighter line, not always the best, but Carlos powers through into second place. Meyer has lost that 1 second advantage, and now McGowan sat helpless as that Mustang pulls away, and Meyer is going to have to start to be a bit clever now, because Carlos into second. McGowan has a moment out of the chicane. This could make Mike Matthews looking a little bit interested. Watch behind as well, because Dan Davis and Matt Wright are side by side. Dan, who I tell you what, Sunday night when we had a little race around here, around the outside of the Melbourne hairpin, and look at that, the traction out the corner, pulls him in front of the Nissan, and he's going to be on the inside into Goddard. This could also take Tardock with him, and it may take Tardock with him here. Just gives a little hip and shoulder there. Tardock, Mike Matthews, Clouden all darting into the pit lane. Early stops for them.
I tell you what, fair play to Matt Wright. That was proper bit of driving. He didn't run Daniel out of the corner on the second to last hairpin. He gave him plenty of space up the inside. Fair play, Matt. That was good driving.
Great racing from all there. Great overtake from Carlos up the track, all the way down to Matt Wright at the minute. Skunky in for an early stop, and we're going to now see what's going to happen between Carlos and Meyer. It is Aston Martin versus Ford Mustang. McGowan sat third. Dan Davis already crawling over the back of him. King of the British circuits, Dan Davis. And we said last week he's without a win all season. The last time we said this was when we was in disbelief that Gary had not had a win. It's kind of, we kind of shocked at the fact that Dan struggled to get a win. But the king of the British tracks, Dan Davis, already side by side with McGowan down the SimPlay straight. McGowan pulls back in. Dan Davis is the king of this track. 2 poles, 3 wins. He'd love to add a 4th to that. McGowan not the best that runs out the chicane. Dan knows though that coming out the chicane's not where he's going to make these moves. It is at the hairpins. The traction of that Porsche is mighty, and he's going to get an up and under here. He's got the up and under on McGowan. Dan Davis now side by side with Ian McGowan. McGowan will have that inside line in towards Goddard, but Dan looking to go around the outside, goes up and under again, and 2 times it's worked for Dan Davis. Through he goes. McGowan pulls straight into the pits. Dan up on the podium.
Absolute masterclass in cutback that was. 2 corners, cutback, made it happen. That's the only way he was going to make that Porsche work, and did it beautifully.
O'Reilly into the pits from 11th as well. He does indeed. O'Reilly into the pits from P11. And he's strong in the hairpins, not strong everywhere else. But Dan Davis looks fired up for this. He said to me last night, he said off air during the Pro-Am races that he's still got Donington to go. He can still try and get a race win. He's still got this track. He goes well around here, as much as he may not like the British circuits. And he's put on, I tell you what, Kelly, you bring out the overtaking textbook, and them 2 moves from Dan are right in there. That was a lovely bit of driving. Will Friedman still on the back of Ben Rook, though. He's took the fastest lap from Tardock at the moment as Will Friedman. Hardly surprising when you consider that Tardock has been sat in that traffic and has then been in the pits. O'Reilly and McGowan coming out of the pits now. Mike Matthews has jumped Ian McGowan, so a great stop there. Tardock has also jumped him, so has Jamal Clouden, so Ian McGowan losing out a handful of places in the pit lane there then. So Mike Matthews, your net pit leader, and let's not forget he wasn't far off the back of Carlos and Meyer as well before he pitted.
No, indeed. I used the undercut last night. It worked for me, although the man I was trying to undercut did get crashed into by someone else, so that did help. But the undercut, it works if you do it right. So we'll see where Mike Matthews, he was the very first man in. So we'll see how it pans out at the end of everything. But Dan is just reeling the leaders in slowly. The attack on Carlos's attack on Meyer has slowed down somewhat, and it's kind of levelled out a little bit. I thought he was going to mount a challenge on him, but it didn't quite materialise in the end. So probably half of the field have pitted already, the other half still to go. We'll see how things shake out.
Well, Friedman's in the pits now, and we're just currently watching Overtaker on the back of Matt Wright with Sylph, the championship leader, if you will. And look at the right-hand side of Overtaker's car there as he come through McLaren's. Bit of damage from where Ben made contact with him at the start of this race, so that could be hurting him, and that's possibly cost him. One thing I want to say, Kelly, is we saw that impressive, and Martin in the chat said a 25.4. That's a serious lap time. We saw that serious lap time from the Honda in practice. Not really a Mustang circuit, is it, today? Because although the SimPlay straight and the start straight are good straights, they're not long enough for it to have that. It's not going to gain. It's still going to outdo the Porsche, but not by as much.
I don't even think you pull 6th gear in the McLaren down those straights. I don't even think you get there. So the straights aren't long enough. The SimPlay straight is a huge traction zone off that last corner, but still you're into a chicane where you have to thread the needle. Dan's in, so is Overtaker. They go in together. So who's left to pit? Still the top 4 now. Meyer, Carlos haven't pitted yet, and moves up Matt Wright, Sylph, and Ben Rook.
Kelly Tordoc's looking up the inside of Mike into the chicane. They go side by side, very compliant through there, but it compromises Mike's run on the exit of the chicane, and Tordoc moves up a place. He's now the net pit leader in this one. He's also took back the fastest lap, and I tell you what, great bit of driving from the pair of them, because the chicane's probably the one place you're not going to overtake around this circuit. Hats off to the both of them there. That was some great driving.
Absolutely, and that's what I said. You've got to, if you're going to go into the chicane to overtake someone,
Taker's jumped down. I'm just looking at this. I'm just looking at this battle as they come out the pit. Overtaker is side by side with Dan as they come out the pit lane. Here comes Tarnock up the inside into it. Overtaker chops the nose of Mike Matthews off there. That'll be a definite flash from Mike on Overtaker there. That one was some serious moving into the apex of the corner as Mike was alongside. Mike now gets a heck of momentum down into the old hairpin. Has to get out of it before tapping the back of Overtaker. But Dan stays ahead of Tarnock. Overtaker jumps Mike. Dan jumps Mike as well. But that could have ended up in 4 cars off the circuit.
Yeah, that was incredibly close. Taker and Dan were absolutely side by side as they left the pit, and Dan got in front from the inside as well. So I don't know if Taker backed out of it a little bit to avoid an accident or what. I don't know. But yeah, that was certainly very close.
Jamal Clouden looking all over the back of Mike Matthews in towards the chicane. They come once more. Overtaker can now put some pressure on. No, he span! He span out the chicane. Clouden taps Mike around. It's all kittens and handbags out here as Mike Matthews spun around by Jamal Clouden. Overtaker made his own mistake and Mike tumbles down the order as Overtaker keeps going. Clouden manages to keep going as well. If I know Mike, that'll be a certain ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike was Clouden backed off as Overtaker was having his moment. Sorry, Mike backed off as Overtaker was having his moment, and then Clouden just collected Mike, and yeah, just damned unfortunate. But hey, that
Kelly.
Yeah.
Dan, net pit leader, just looking at the pits. Carlos been jumped by Matt Wright in the pits and slides through one, hangs onto it. Ben nearly clatters the back of him, and Ben going to go round the outside then of the the opener of the Craner curves, Hollywood, I believe that is, and manages to get the move done. So Dan has jumped Carlos in the pits. Could he be net leader? It depends on what Meyer's going to do. But Dan Davis at the minute sat in the box seat.
Carlos has dropped a long way down, hasn't he? Yeah, because he was like second before the round of pit stop started. Now he's in 11th.
The only thing I can assume is that he's possibly left his tyre change on as Overtaker looks up the inside, barges Carlos out of the way, and Carlos and Taker are going to go side by side down the SimPlay straight. Once again, O'Reilly waiting in the wings behind, but Carlos must have left a tyre change on, Kelly, because that's 5 seconds extra in the pit stop, and he's lost a lot of time into the chicane. They go. Overtaker yields that time. That was a lot of curve from Carlos on the entry in towards the Fogatiesas. Drive-through penalty for Carlos for them track limits.
Is Sylph going to make it round to the pits before He runs out of time. He's
on the SimPlay straight. He's on the SimPlay straight. That'll be absolutely fine.
Though, isn't it?
It will be, yeah. Overtaker's looking to the outside of Goddard's. O'Reilly's now tucked underneath. And Overtaker and O'Reilly come together. I didn't see what happened there, but Overtaker and O'Reilly came together. Carlos still got to do the drive-through. Here comes Hoopert out the pit lane. And Hoopert, let's not forget, was way behind at the start. He's now ahead of Ben Ruck as they come side by side into the Craners. Ben may just get Hoopert here. Side by side down the hill they go. Ben and Hoopert still together. Hoopert now is going to come back in front together at the Craner curves. Who would ever try to go around the outside at the Craner curves? And Hoopert gets the move done around the outside of the old hairpin.
Still comes into the pits with 26 seconds left to go. Timed it absolutely perfectly. But where's this going to end him up when he gets this pit stop done? He wasn't really setting the world on fire before he came into the pits. Got kind of laid up at the back for quite a long time. So we'll see. He's on his marks now. Meyer should regain the lead. It's where Silth comes out, especially in relation to his teammate, who's now in fourth and half a second behind Dan. Dan seems to be keeping him honest. Dan is reeling in Meyer as well.
Carlos got past Ben as well there, but he's got that drive-through penalty still to take, and this is becoming a little argy-bargy in this midfield back half of the circuit here. There's been some contact in this first race. I suppose the gloves are off for everybody. Silf is off and away, so let's jump back down to Meyer now as Meyer comes down the start line. There is Silf. Here comes Dan into turn one. Dan up into second place, and crucially for the championship, it is Silf who is ahead of Tarlock, but Dan Davis now side by side with Silf as they go through the Craner curves. Ford versus Porsche. Here they go at Donington Park. Silf on the inside for the old hairpin. Silf gets into second place. Dan can do nothing about it, and that is a great piece of driving. Kelly, we've seen some clumsy incidents tonight, but we have seen some brilliance as Tardock now looks to the outside of Dan at McLean's. Tardock late on the brakes. Dan still has the inside line. Tardock on that outside curb, and Dan manages to hold on to that one. It is gloves off here, and Tardock knows he now needs to get a move on to get ahead of Silf.
Yes, indeed, that was good driving from Silth. He went round the outside. Good driving from both, to be fair. That could have ended up in a disaster, and normally is going side by side. As Tardock's going to have a go into the chicane. Tardock beginning to look a little bit desperate, it must be said. A little bit on the desperate side now, trying to get the move done, and just round the outside of McLean's. That was never going to happen, you know. But Silth is now right on the back of Meyer. This is for the lead. Any one of these four could win this.
And crucially as well, Kelly, Silf has taken that fastest lap away from Tardock, and look at how much Dan has closed in just on the traction zones alone out the hairpin. This is what could keep Dan in play here. He'd love a podium. He'd love that race win more. There's 3 minutes 7 seconds left to go. There's at least 2 or 3 laps left in this race. The dramas aren't done, and we've still got the hour race to come a little later on. Dan versus Silf. Can I open my eyes yet, says Rob Smith. Indeed you can. There has been some fantastic racing here tonight, Kelly. It has been a pleasure to have such a good finale as Meyer there, a little wobble through the crane has put Silf right onto the back of him, and Dan and Tarlock are still in this competition. They are still there. Drive through cleared. Will Mike Matthews get ahead of Carlos as they come into turn one? Yes, just about. Mike's got some damage on the front, so I could only suggest that Mike's had another moment somewhere. And Meyer now defending into Coppice from Silf, who's going to try and drive right the way around the outside of Coppice onto the SimPlay straight. Silf looks to get the move done for the race lead. He gets the move done for the race lead, and Tarlock's going to once again have a look at Dan Davis into the chicane. Dan gets on loose. Dan's lost it on the curb, just braked on the grass, and Tarlock up into third place.
Dan will be unhappy about that. He just got, as you said, just got up on the curb and lost it. Tardock was right down the inside and trying to push that move. Silth just is Ash Sutton-like and just pass him where he wants to, where he feels like it. Go round the outside. Yeah, no problem. I'll do that. And he does that, and does Meyer for the race lead. Tardock now goes up into third. Is Meyer going to be able to hold on to second place from Tardock? I've got my doubts that Dan's going to be able to recover this into a podium position.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait to see what happens late on here now. Dan's got the trouble of Will Friedman with Jamal Clouden not a million miles behind. Then it's McGowan, Hooper, Matt Wright, Ben Rook, Overtaker, O'Reilly, Skunky, Mike Matthews, and then Carlos and Mike Matthews. Sorry, Carlos got back ahead. The SimPlay Racing boys who could have
sideways again.
Sorry, the SimPlay Racing lads who could have got P2 in that Constructors. Not anymore, it looks like, because Audio Sport going to outscore them. And Dan and Friedman going side by side up towards McLean's. Clouden's waiting in the wings for an incident here. Clouden's going to look to follow Dan up the inside of Will Friedman. Can't get it done. Friedman, who's been brilliant in the Porsche all season, you have to say his Porsche's looked a lot different to Dan's Porsche at times. And Friedman and Dan now going at it. Meyer though and Tardok, championship on the line. Meyer and Tardok looking at the chicane once again, Kelly. He has no fear of trying to go up the inside at the chicane. Gets a better run on the exit, and Tardok going to be into second place to hunt down after his teammates and championship rival. Tardok moves into second. He has got no fear at this chicane tonight.
Meyer's having to go back at him. He's got the switchback, but I think it's all done. I think Tardok's got this covered off now. He's not going to cover. He's not going to catch and pass Silth in a lap. If we're going to go, we're going to go one more. He's not going to catch him in that time, but certainly minimising the amount of points lost to Silth, but still a loss.
It is still a loss, but Tardok will lose 6 points tonight, making that gap 36 with only 56 to play for. Good evening to Ian Thompson in the chat as Mike and Carlos still going at it here. Then back to Dan and Friedman and Cloud in a moment. Just drop down to Ben Rook. He's with Matt Wright, Overtaker and O'Reilly. Shame for O'Reilly, caught up in a couple of clips there that's put him down the order in this race, because he was the one who set the pace, didn't he? Before the lobby was reset for tonight, and in practice O'Reilly was second quickest or quickest to Tardok. So shame that he's down the order and not fight, because I think him in this mix would have been an even better fight.
Absolutely, as both Porsches go a little bit sideways on the exit as they get onto the SimPlay straight, and Meyer might just live to stay on the podium, but I got a feel for him. He's run such a brilliant race, and then just to get mugged by the MSA boys right at the end, it's damned unfortunate.
Dan's not out of this one. He's still got the final hairpin. He's still got this hairpin. Actually, Meyer keeps it nice and tight. Kelly, you keep your eyes on that, though, because Silth is coming to the final corner. And if you want to try and take this championship, you could not think of a better start than a race win and fastest lap to your name. Tardok, can he get that fastest lap away? No, he can't. Dan Davis just narrowly by a tenth and a half from Meyer third, Dan fourth, Will Friedman fifth, Clouden sixth, McGowan seventh, Hooper from Matt Wright, Ben Rook, Overtaker, O'Reilly, Skunky back out there tonight. He's going to come across the line for P13 after starting from the pit lane here. Then decent, not too bad for him. And Carlos looks like he's going to have the upper hand over Mike Matthews. But what a 20 minutes race, bit of racing there. We've got this for an hour. Meyer gets his first podium. Fair play to him. And Kelly, it is going to be absolutely fantastic to see this final race.
Absolutely, and as I say, you got to feel for Meyer. He ran a brilliant race there, did everything he needed to, kept it cool, but as I said, just got mugged by the MSA boys from the back to the front in 20 minutes.
Indeed it was. He did try and hold on as best he can, as I'm just inputting the results now. Dan will be gutted. Little mistake from himself that just dropped the wheel on the grass that cost him a bit there, but 36 points in this championship fight. It is not a lot at all, and it is all still to play for.
I think if Dan hadn't gone out to the outside there, that Tardok was coming down the inside, so it could have been a lot worse, to be fair, and Dan would have still lost the position. So, maybe that's the best he could have hoped for. But as you say, we've got an hour race still to come. These guys have got a free practice. I bet most of them won't go out in that. And then we've got a 15-minute qualifying, of course, for the last race of the season. And what a season it's been, Matt.
What a season it has been, but we'll get on to that into the qualifying session. Me and Kelly will take a 10-minute break. You can as well. Go and grab yourself a drink, get some refreshments, get some snacks, go to the toilet. You aren't going to want to miss this 1 hour. See you shortly. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport. What an opening race to the evening that was. We've got one more left, but first of all, we have the 15-minute qualifying in which Hupert and Carlos both have qualifying bans in this one and cannot take part in qualifying. It has all been action in that first race, and Kelly Davis, as I see the tyre wall absolutely bounce across the back part there through the chicane. What a dramatic start to the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. We were expecting thrills and spills in race one, and that's exactly what we got. Some great driving, and yeah, some will say some questionable driving as well. But certainly all action from our point of view, Matt.
Brilliant from where we sat.
Yeah.
Championship, as we said, still on 36 points. In it, 57 up for grabs, point for pole, point for fastest lap, point 55 for the win. So it's not over yet. But you kind of have to say that Sylph has one hand on it.
The fat lady may not be singing, but my God, she's warming up.
She's warming up, indeed she is. She's gargling some salt water, making sure her vocal cords are ready to go in a couple of moments' time. Interesting, though. Interesting.
Maybe she's sucking a fisherman's friend.
She has got a fisherman's friend, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But she's ready to start singing.
She's ready.
She's nearly ready to start singing for Sylph on this championship. So Tardoc's going to need some divine intervention for this one if he's going to win it. But mate, we've seen things happen. Season time in, time again. Things have been decided right on the day.
Let's go back to Spa on Project Cars 2. Dan versus Andy, McLaren versus BMW, night race in the snow. Dan came from nowhere in the back half of the season, won it on the very last race of the season because it turned on its head. Let's not forget, if we go back to season 5 of Pro-Am, it was won on a countback of second places in that championship.
We have to keep reliving that one, yeah.
Let's not forget GT5s, where it all happened at Knockhill on a wet and rainy evening. Let's not forget all these championships that have been decided due to certain circumstances on whatever day it may be. It is all to play for in this series, and my God, are we in for an absolute treat. Let me tell you, it's going to be one heck of an end to this season. You will not want to miss it, that is for sure. But what we are going to get onto, though, is you can see in the chat, there is a link already pinned to the top of the chat. That is for the Just Giving page, the donation page for the Nordschleife event, which takes place on the in the next weekend, should I say. So on the 2nd of May is the qualifying. The 3rd and 4th of May will be the race, which is absolutely fantastic. We've currently raised £215, and we're not even at the event yet. So that's a massive thank you to everybody who has donated. 24 hours of the Nordschleife. It's going to be an absolutely outstanding one. It is for Cancer Research UK. And it is for such a good cause. One of our drivers came to us within the season, Paul Williams, obviously race winner for the first time last night, came to us in the season, said that 2 family members within a short period of time had both been diagnosed with cancer, wanted to put on an event, and we have done just that. FBR and SimPlay Motorsport are joining forces again for a charity event in aid of cancer research. 30 teams, 24 hours. We hope to get 30 cars on the grid. There is, and I can tell you how many cars we've got on the grid at the moment, because the championship was opened live to the public today. There is 12 teams, 12 cars on that grid at the moment. So nearly half a grid in this 24-hour event. It's going to be a fascinating one. So in that, at the top of your chat, there is a link to the Just Giving page. Obviously, all links will be shared around for the streams come next weekend when we go live. I myself will be bringing you the commentary of the qualifying on the Friday evening, around 8 PM GMT, I do believe. Sorry, BST for the qualifying. Then that is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on, see who does what there, because it's only a 20-minute qualifying, Kelly, which is, we've worked out. Yeah. Because you can take a short lap at the Nordschleife on your out lap. You can take the GP section to then go into your flying lap. The qualifying could be 3 laps. That's not a lot of laps to get right.
Yeah, I think you'll be finding there'll be a few drivers who just won't qualify. They'll do their best, but track limits and track limits are crazy there. Just to get a valid lap is horrendous. So let alone a shot at pole. So you know, it's it's going to be crazy. I was just quickly, I'm on the Just Giving page right now. £215, as you say, already collected, and I'd like to say thank you to Ian Thomas, Dan Davis, Jamal Clouden, D Hibbs, PlayStation Idiots, I Have a Monkey, haven't we all? John Gooday, Mike Matthews, Sarah Chandler, and there is some others
Anonymous.
who have already. Anonymous, yes, and there is a few others that have already donated. Thank you ever so much for your commitment. There's many that will donate on the day. I certainly will. I'm going to be in the comms box as much as I possibly can. I won't be able to do the full 24 because I'm old and I got other commitments, but I will be in the commentary box as much as I possibly can. And on the Just Giving page, got a target of £1,500. I don't want that. I want £2.5 grand. I want us to between this fantastic community of, what have we got, 60 maybe 70 drivers, and all the people that they know. I know I've got people tuning in and who are ready to give, who are not regular SimPlay or new SimPlay watchers. So I've got people lined up. Share the message with everyone. We want £2.5 grand for cancer research. Every single one of us most probably has been affected by cancer. I have, you know, so many people have, and 1 in 3 will be affected by cancer directly, and we want to keep these people alive. We want to keep, you know, do as much as we can for cancer research, and you can help. We'll be doing our bit, we'll be giving our bit. Whatever you can do will be appreciated, and we open it up. Come join us in the comms box. If you haven't done it before, you haven't joined us, come and have a chit chat. We got 24 hours of content to come up with. I don't think it's going to be extremely close racing. It's an endurance around an extremely long track, so we're going to need plenty to talk about. So come in and join us. We'll be discussing everything from motorsport do's and don'ts, the state of sim drivers, the world in whole,
pineapple on pizza.
Exactly. We'll be covering all these subjects. So if you want to come and join us, you are more than welcome in the comms box with us. Come and have a chat.
And just to add to that, all you have to do to be in the comms box, just get involved in the SimPlay Motorsport Discord server. We're all going to be in the Discord channel for that one, for you to come and have a chat, so that we can then speak with Xbox drivers and Xbox people as well. So it is going to be a fantastic night, 'cause it's cross-play. It's just going to be the whole thing. I think is going to be fantastic. And like we said, let's raise some good money for a great charity. We did it before, 1,200. Like Kelly says, we'd love to get that 2,500 mark. Definitely the 2,000 mark. I think that's going to be the absolute biggest push we can possibly have. But let's get behind everybody. Let's see what happens here. NOT F Gomez, hey guys, good night and a good race. Gomez, insert coin. We miss no, F Gomez, actually, don't think that is insert coin. We miss you. Hopefully you're back on the grid next season. Hopefully you want to take part in the charity event as well coming up. If you are on the Discord, make sure you go over to the charity event sign up page and have a look there. It has been opened up to the public, but with 6 minutes of quali, we're kind of not really speaking about quali. We're just going to let them do their thing, and then let's see what happens. We go back to Pro-Am last night, 24 hours ago nearly, and it was a wonderful evening for the Team Audio Sport driver of Kelly Davis, who was starting by the back of the grid and had worked his way up to a marvellous P5 in what you can say was a great drive.
Yes.
Kelly Davis, then, with 18 minutes left to go on the clock, noticed that he had 3 litres of fuel in the car. And in my notebook, it worked out of 60 litres at the start and 42, in the pit stop, 102 litres. Kelly Davis decided to start on 62 and put in 44. Now, if the maths is correct, that's 106 litres, and meaning that he ran an extra 2 laps, or at least a lap and a half more than what was scheduled to run. Kelly, what happened at work today?
Firstly, Matt, just a couple of points to pick up on. And firstly, you should narrate bedtime stories, because when you were saying that, your voice went to a much softer, more storytelling type tone, and it was really quite nice. Anyway, moving along. Yes, there was a catalogue of errors last night. Let's just be said, and some of them were my own stupid fault. And if there's a big book of cock-ups, I've been mentioned in it in every single way, right? From crash smashing into the leaders by pressing the clutch and not the brake, by not readying up, by spinning on the aforementioned lap. I've done them all, every single one of them. And last night was no exception. I made a major cock up by not readying up when I was on pole position. That was bad enough. But we were in the race and we were making a comeback, as Matt said, up to 5th position, done my pit stop, jumped a couple in the pits, was really strong, a great performance from myself, even if I do say so, and even some nice overtakes, which was lovely. And then I realised that I was out of fuel. That, of course, ruined my position. That as well as speeding in the pit line trying to get there, ruined my race. I did go back and check, and everything was set up like it should be. It was one of those PlayStation glitches, and my pit crew just didn't put fuel in. Anyway, this morning, and at this point I'd just like to say good evening to Freddie and to Adam of the Cornwall Kawasaki Centre, who are based next door of Audio Sport Towers. And when I went in this morning, Freddie said to me, "How were you getting on?" He said, I tuned in and you were in 8th place. He said, "Where did you finish?" I said, last, retired. Whoa, what happened? He said, well, I said, run out of fuel. At that moment, I didn't have a chance to explain to him that it really wasn't my fault, and so on and so forth. So later in the day, I pop out, I come back to the workshop, and I find the two Kawasaki boys, Freddie and Adam, standing in the doorway of the garage, holding jerry cans, and saying to... and asking me if I needed to borrow any jerry cans to make sure I had fuel in my car. So I called them an expletive, which I made up, one of my own expletives, and of course we all laughed along. So yeah, that's what happened to me today. That is the power, Matt, of interactive gameplay.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Because you've mentioned the Kawasaki Club a few times now, and on several occasions over the seasons, you know, so the fact that they're on board and watching a lot more and being a bit more sort of vocal with yourself at work about it, it's absolutely fantastic. Again, it grows the community, it grows sort of the fan base of SimPlay Motorsport. The audacity to bring out 2 jerry cans later in the day for you is absolutely... If the two guys are listening, I tip my cap to you, sirs, because that was fantastic. I had tears earlier when Kelly first told me this story, and I said, and he said, I've got to mention it on stream. We've made sure we've mentioned it because it is brilliant. The irony of it.
I tell you what, Matt, this whole thing, the whole SimPlay thing and sim race and all the rest of it, we do it for fun, right?
Yeah.
And if we can't have a laugh and laugh at ourselves about it, then there really is no point. Those people who take it all too seriously need to lighten up, because this is what we do for fun. And as I said, I welcome the ribbing. Do you know what I mean? The jerry cans, the being called Zippy on here, and all the rest of it. You know, I welcome it because it's what I do to relax and what I do to have fun. So if you're not having fun, what's the point? You know.
And you know, I'm all for everybody. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You know that. Everybody in this community probably knows that. I'm all for the seriousness on the track, but at the end of the day, when all's said and done, when we look back on it, you've just got to have a laugh at times, haven't you? And you've just got to admire it.
And we've had some.
Oh, have we had some?
So many.
And that is just another one of them. And I'm sure we're going to have many more laughs. The last time we did the 24-hour, we had to explain to Liam Bostock, that Bozzy boy, ex-driver / commentator, what an encyclopedia was. I couldn't even get the word out.
No, I know.
We had to explain what one of those was. Because he didn't understand. It was a whole 24 hours of just a lot of laughs, a lot of work, and Williams has got in. That's fantastic to see for the final race of the season. But yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic community to be a part of. So if you're not a part of it, be a part of it. It really is the place to be. And honestly, it's just fantastic. And you know, stories like this, we're going to go into next weekend, we're going to be able to mention stories, we're going to be able to create new memories and new stories, and yeah, it's just going to be fantastic. PN's going to join me in the commentary box next Friday evening because Benny's starting the race. Absolutely fantastic. If anybody else wants to drop me a message or give me a shout,
I might. We'll see where we are. We might.
We'll get us all in. We'll get 3 different camera angles. We'll get 3 different camera angles going. This will be absolutely fantastic. The passion of Matt Racing, says PN, with a lol and a laughing emoji. Like some call it passion, others don't.
Some call it blind anger.
Absolute rage. I've mellowed in my ears, though, to be fair, Kelly. My wise years since turning 30, I've mellowed out a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'd like to say that I do the same. I think slightly, I mean, we're both pretty much the same when it comes to upset and sim racing. There's an awful lot of language, stuff that you wouldn't repeat to your children or your girlfriend.
There was a few expletives last week over you getting second place, and that was that one I found funny.
I was. Well, let's not go back into that one. As I said, we have a lot of laughs. We're going to do it again next week, and just to Damien Hibbs, just saying now he understands why I went into the pits, and he gained a position like he needed one. Do you know what I mean? He already had the championship, but it was a good race right up till that. And as I say, we've had loads of good races. So qualifying, my friend, is all but done.
It is. McGowan crosses the line and goes P4 and improves, but Tardock takes a crucial point in qualifying. PN says that rage is passion. I agree. Monkey Boy asks, will we be mentioning Hondas by any chance next week? Well, Monkey Boy, we only do a 2.5 hour stream, and we managed to talk about Hondas enough.
I tell you what, Monkey. I tell you, sorry, that was Monkey Boy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I tell you what, Andy, we're going to do Hondas, Ginsters, GT5s, and all the stuff that we do every week. Don't you worry about that.
I actually wasn't going to mention GT5s or Ginsters.
It'll get mentioned next week. You know it will.
I wasn't going to bring it up. Of course we're going to mention Hondas. We'll probably talk about touring cars this week. Hondas look nice. You've already said that. We'll probably talk about them results.
They do look
at
nice.
Some point. We'll probably mention the Honda in the British GT because it's inevitably going to win at Silverstone. So of course we're going to mention Hondas. So it's going to be an interesting one. There is a big talking point actually I'm saving for next week. I'll give you the topic of it. And this is the debacle or the fiasco of what happened last week regarding the F1. And this is Max Verstappen and his time penalty for turn 1 with Oscar Piastri. Because I'd like to discuss this one with a few people in the chat. I think next week's the place to do it. Over whether 5 seconds was enough. Was it? Should it have been a penalty? And I'd like to argue that, or discuss that, should I say?
That would be one to discuss.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be a good one as I'm going through and just inputting the grid order.
Again, we will cover many subjects on the 24, and some of them could be extremely random, but we don't care as long as you lot turn up. And PN said in the chat that the Nürburgring needs the grass cutting, so what better than a Honda? People seem to get me wrong and they think that I'm not a Honda fan. I am. I think they make the best lawnmowers and generators in the world.
And Jazz. You love a Honda Jazz.
A Honda Jazz, well, there's nothing better on a Sunday afternoon when you come behind a hearing aid beige Honda Jazz being driven by a guy who's probably 103 at 10 miles an hour. Nothing more excites me more, especially on small Cornish roads.
Damien Hibbs saying
probably
my wife
against us.
Probably is, yeah, just to really irritate you that little bit more. Damien Hibbs says that my wife heard some expletives when I couldn't stop both races, especially the second one. And good evening to Dean Wasocki in the chat. I can imagine there was a few expletives. Kelly was on the edge of a few expletives because he thought he'd
on the edge.
Did you give us a 1 or 2? I can't remember if you gave us 1 or 2.
I probably did repeatedly make up a couple. Yeah, absolutely. So I was sat behind Hibbs's car when we both didn't ready up, or I didn't ready up. He had a glitch or whatever happened. All I saw was the back end of his car for a couple of minutes while everyone did the formation lap. So that was I didn't want to see that close to the back of his car. Yeah. Oh dear, never mind. What we got, Rob
I'm
Smith
not putting, sorry Kelly, just cut in. I'm not putting the usual who will win race 2. I'm putting who will win the championship. You've got 2 options.
It's a tough one, that one.
Yeah. What I will say, by the way, is I'm going to get this out there now. Who's going to win in the touring cars this weekend? 3 races. Give me 3 race winners.
Oh Christ. Ingram, Sutton, Hill.
I think you've got 1 out of 3 there, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, and who did that be then?
The BMW didn't look good in testing. The Ford looked average in testing, and the Hyundai I think is the favourite car for this season. I'm going Ingram, and I think Cook could win a race. I think Ingram will take 2.
Cookie could win the race. You know what it's like. The flag drops, and the ball stops, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and we'll see who's who and where's where, like we always do in these things.
Love touring cars. And if you're in the UK, it is the best British series to watch, and
No, Matt, I disagree. I think it's the best series in the world.
Oh no, I fully agree with you. But others in the world aren't going to agree with that. But speaking of the world, and I hope the touring cars appreciate this, but you can watch the BTCC live on YouTube around the world for the first time this year. Yeah. So if you are across the pond,
for us as well, which is brilliant. Free to view, for God's sake. That's
if you are overseas and not in the United Kingdom, get on YouTube, British Touring Car Championship, watch it, tune in. Rob Smith, Jason Plato, Steve Soper, Nigel Mansell, BTCC winners this weekend. The only winner out of them lot is Matt Neal. And that's it. England for a strong weekend, season and overall win. I couldn't agree more with Damien Hibbs. But enough about the touring cars. Final race of the season is green and go, and it's a good start from Dan Davis and Jamal Clouden on the third row of the grid. McGowan didn't get a great launch. Dan's going to look up the inside of McGowan, heading into turn one. It's even Stevens between the front three. Dan gets ahead of McGowan. O'Reilly's on the grass. This could allow Sylph to get a run. It does. It also allows Dan to get a run, so there's no longer a car between the championship protagonists. What happened down the order? Absolutely nothing. We're away. It's scot-free from everybody, but it is Tardock from Sylph, from Dan, from O'Reilly. McGowan on the grass. That allows Will Freeman, overtaker, and Mike Matthews to get through. The person who's lost out the most is Jamal Clouden. Ben's now on the grass. Meyer and McGowan touch. Clouden gets caught up in it, as does Hooperts and Carlos and a few others. And Clouden has to go across McLean's to avoid, as he got pushed, nudged out there from the spinning Aston Martin. And it's chaos down at McLean's end on lap one. But Tardock from Sylph, from Dan and O'Reilly going at it already.
I lost my headphones there for a minute, Matt, but there was absolute carnage there in the midfield. A couple there spun round, but out in front, Tardock doing what he can. He can only do the best he can. Stilts has really just got to sit there, hasn't he? You know, but Dan Davis with a great start in front of O'Reilly in those first opening corners. Friedman still in the mix, and overtaker, as we're only just at the end of lap one.
We are just at the end of lap one, and Matt Wright's trying to make the moves on Hoopert in towards Goddard's for the final time. Skunky late on the brakes, manages to get it stopped. Williams is in for this session, which is great to see that bright pink Ford Mustang, and Matt Wright gets it stopped there. Then as we move further forward, Friedman, it was O'Reilly that dropped wide at Redgate corner onto the grass and allowed Sylph and Dan through, but this is not what Tardock needs. Tardock needs Sylph to drop down the order, and Dan just losing out 0.4 of a second from the start line on Sylph already. That is not going to help him. He's got O'Reilly putting him under some pressure. Honda versus Porsche in this battle for third place, which Dan Davis looks like he's taken control of, ahead of Friedman and O'Reilly and Hoopert. And this is going to be an interesting one as we come to the end of this fight. O'Reilly getting a lot closer to Dan now.
Yes, indeed. He's certainly putting pressure on Dan. Friedman with a watching brief over these two at the moment, ready to pick up the pieces. Dan struggling on traction back end, complaining and wanting to give up as he gets down the SimPlay straight. Stays ahead of O'Reilly. No heroics yet into the chicane. As they go head to head, this could go all battle wide, race wide, this battle. And Rob Smith in the chat, Jason Plato, Steve Soper, Nigel Mansell, BTCC winners this weekend. Well, yeah, that'd be an interesting day if they all three turned up. I'd throw John Cleland in that one. That'd be a fun race, wouldn't it, to have all those there? And Hibbs saying Ingram for a strong season. I agree, as does PN saying that Ingram is the man, basically.
I'm currently working something out at the moment, because I got asked the question on where Sylph would need to finish if Tardock took the win, and we don't want to leave it to the penultimate lap of the race, do we, Kelly? As we found out last night, to find out who can win what in the championship. So I'm just going to work this one out. So if I go a little quiet, that is why. Right.
That's okay.
So done it. If Tardock wins this race, Sylph needs to be 11th place without fastest lap. That will go to a countback of race wins, in which we know what a countback brings. It brings drama.
O'Reilly's
dropped it.
Off.
Yeah, he's managed to hold on to it. He's only lost out to Friedman, Overtaker and Mike Matthews, so he's managed to somewhat keep hold of it. He got all on the outside curb on the exit of McLean's, and that's unsettled the car. Work to do once again. So if Silf is 11th and Tardock wins, none of them get fastest lap. It'll go to a countback of race wins. If Tardock gets fastest lap, Silf needs 12th to go to a countback. So anything lower than 11th and 12th for Silf, but at the minute that looks highly unlikely.
I don't know. He just stay where he is, and it's
drive through for Hoopert already. Track limits.
Yeah.
That is crazy. He's well off as well. He's in the wall, and that's a retirement.
Yeah, bound to be. I didn't think Hoopert was looking his usual self tonight. He's been struggling all night to get to grips with this Donington, and that's just ruined his race, and we're only less than 5 minutes in. So, yeah, that's disaster for Hoopert. As I was saying, I don't think... I mean, we'll see what happens in the pit stops, but the two MSA boys out front, Silt's really just got a whole position, hasn't he? And how difficult can that be for him, considering the pace that he's got this evening and all this season? I can't see that he's going to have to struggle. I think the battles tonight are going to be further back. You know, Friedman, Dan, O'Reilly. I think that's where we're going to see some battles tonight. I think the MSA boys might just hold station. Tardock can only do what Tardock can do.
Yeah.
And you know, he can only win the race. He can only do his best, and he's got to.
O'Reilly's gone again. O'Reilly's gone again. He's had a big snap at Coppice. He's into the wall on the exit of Coppice, facing the wrong way. He's gone again. Huge snap, and that's not going to help SimPlay Racing get third here.
No, that's a shame.
He's returned to the pit lane.
Yeah, he has. So, what do you think is going on with O'Reilly? He was pretty. What? Was he pole? No, not quite. Was
Second place.
Wasn't he? Yeah. What's going on with him? He seems to have an overall pace. He's quick enough, but he didn't seem to have the car seemed to be on a knife edge. That's where I'm trying to go with this.
Yeah, well, that's probably the end of that one now. Cloudon's now on the back of Ben, so that will probably cement Greasy Bandits as third. Team Audio Sport will be cemented now as second place, with O'Reilly retiring from this race then. So further we go at the minute, and this is going to be an interesting one here, as Cloudon and Ben gaining on each other down the Craner curves. Friedman's within half a second of Dan. The other closest fight is Carlos on the back of Matt Wright, and McGowan on the back of former teammate Skunky. So we're down to the 15 drivers, and Will Friedman now hunting Dan down. Overtaker, surprisingly, in the Mustang can't stick with these two.
Yeah, no, he isn't quite. Overtaker hasn't quite been there this evening as well. Friedman has a look up the inside. Dan seems to be struggling through McLean's and whatever the next one is to keep it on track. He's right on the edge of the circuit and fighting with that back end, which has brought Friedman right back into play as Overtaker bounces across the chicane. And Overtaker just doesn't seem to have that pace tonight.
No, he doesn't. He's come away with some good results, but like you say, compared to two Mustangs out front, Overtaker's just not got the same pace as them. He's in fact actually possibly being caught a little bit by Mike. 1.3 goes a little deep in the final hairpin, does Overtaker there, so he's ran deep. That's put Mike right on the back of him now, and they get a run. Ben has a little snap out the final corner, and that's put Cloudon on the back of him. And then you've got Williams, Carlos and the big Nissan of Matt Wright as well further back. So a couple of cars having their own little individual fight. Silf has taken the fastest lap, is within 6/10 of Tardock.
I was just about to say that. Silf has pulled up to the back of Tardock as well. He's got the bit in his teeth. Is he really going to go for the race win? Or
let me ask you a question here, Kelly. Is this Silf pulling up to the back of Tardock, or is this Tardock trying to put Silf into the pack?
Well, that would be an interesting strategy, but a reasonable one.
Especially if he's just heard the stream there and knows that he's got to finish 11th or lower. If he brings the pack,
I mean, he's got to bring him right into the pack to push him backwards to drop 10 places and still stay in first. That's some driving to make that happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that would be an extreme move. And when I say extreme move, like not on with most people, let alone your teammate, to be able to do that. I'm probably thinking it's not that sinister, you know.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. Let's keep our eyes on everything in this race. And as we go forward into it, O'Reilly saying that his base, again, lack of force feedback in the Discord. And it's just flicking the car each and every way, not doing what he wants to do. Friedman close to Dan, Mike close to Overtaker, Clouden close to Ben, and if we drop back down to Clouden, you can see in the background there's Williams and Wright and Carlos as well, and then there's McGowan and Skunky. May is the one who's losing out here, but Sylph and Tardock, Dan and Will Friedman, closest fight on the track at the moment between the two Porsches.
Yeah, and Will Friedman pulling right into Dan in the braking zones. But I tell you what, it's not, if you haven't got a clear advantage, it's not an easy track to overtake. There isn't that many opportunities. I certainly sat behind B. Craig last night and had a great fight with P. Williams as well last night. And it's difficult to put a move in. And if you get a switchback in one of the on the GP loop, you can always switch back again. Yeah. And it's a game of cat and mouse, this Donny Park.
Really is, and that's kind of what all the British tracks are, aren't they?
Yeah, true.
You've got to make sure you're fully alongside. I think, bar the exception of Silverstone, they're all difficult to overtake on because of the way the track is. Friedman holding a tighter line than Dan, but Dan being able to keep it tight enough that Friedman can't find a way through. Overtaker and Mike are now on the back of this train, so it's now become a quartet of a fight nearly.
Yes, indeed, they are closing up. Dan is playing the Truly train at the moment, and he's keeping it there, but he's ultimately on race pace. Seems to be that the others are better. So yeah, it's going to come a four-way fight, as you say, anytime soon. Pretty much is, isn't it? Mike Matthews just to put, Overtaker has pulled back up onto Friedman, and Mike Matthews just got to pull back up onto the back of these now. We'll see how this one pans out. Maybe Dan's not pushing too hard. Well,
this now could help Dan Davis, Kelly, because with Overtaker putting a bit of pressure on Will Friedman, look, the gap between Dan and Will Friedman's just opened up ever so slightly, and Overtaker now has come to put that pressure on one of the Porsches, and will try to look to make a move some way. Donington Park is one of them circuits you kind of have to set the driver up 2 or 3 corners ahead. You've kind of got to know. Yes. You've also got to commit to the move.
Yes, indeed, and there's also a lot of opportunities to hold people up on the apex. You know, Plato stroke KLF stroke Duffin kind of styly. And hold people on the apex, and that is a more likely strategy that Dan is pushing Friedman back into Overtaker.
Also, just want to play devil's advocate. Is Dan saving tyres? He did say that his tyres seem to massively go towards the end of both half-an-hour stints. So is Dan also kind of like maybe just protecting his tyres? Knows he's not going to win this race, so instead of overly driving the car, pushing hard to keep with the Fords, maybe just protecting what he's got.
Highly likely. Dan's got a very good race brain. You don't put the achievements up that he's had without having a good race brain, and he will always be thinking about how he can play this game to the best advantage. And I don't mean that in a malicious way, but just what you need to do to make things work your way, and that's what racing is about, you know.
Yeah, let's see what happens then in this race. But Overtaker's now fell back into the clutches of Mike, and also Ben has pulled away from Clouden. Ben's almost got himself onto this train and has dropped Jamal Clouden. Jamal Clouden may be suffering with a bit of damage on the front of that car due to what happened at the start of this race. Matt Wright is on the back of Williams and McGowan is with Skunky. We have lost Hoopert, so we are down to 14 drivers to end this championship. What a shame that it is going to end this way, as Matt Wright getting a little close to Williams now, coming down in towards the chicane, and Matt Wright nearly in the boot lid of the Ford Mustang, ends up across the gravel. That could put him under pressure from Carlos. No, probably not going to there, but back to Overtaker. He's lost out a bit to Friedman and has just fell back into Mike a little bit.
Yeah, Mike got very deep in the second to last corner and got very deep. But he must have a good front end on that car, because he managed to pull it back to the apex and live for another day. Although he has lost a little bit to Overtaker, but I don't think it really matters at this stage.
Williams has had a moment. He's retired back to the pit lane. So that is a third car to have had a moment, and into the pit lane goes Williams. That was out the chicane. In fact, no, sorry, that was up the second part before the final hairpin. So I'm not sure what happened to Williams there. So we could be down to 13. Phil, what did we get down to at the end of last season at the last race at Donington Park? We could beat it tonight.
Yeah, we could. It could be just the MSA boys left by the time we get to the end. But poor old Williams has had 15 minutes of racing tonight.
Yeah, bless him. Bless him. Either way, we carry on. We go once again, and we end up on lap 9 now. 1.2 seconds between Tardock and Silv. So Tardock pushes that gap a little more. We've got Will Friedman, who's gaining onto the back of Dan Davis as well. Just going to drop down to Wright and Carlos. Carlos past Wright. He's now got Skunky and McGowan for company down the order. Williams has retired the car due to his ping. It is all over the place now due to the power cut that they have had. That might be the internet sort of coming back up to normals for him. So he's retired, so he's a bit more safe for other drivers out there. So fair play.
That's fair. Yeah, that is fair to do.
Fair play. But at the minute, I'm looking at the timing screen as well here, Kelly. I'm looking at the fuel that drivers got. Again, I'm not going to mention fuel that drivers have on board to not give away team strategy or whatever. There's not much difference. It was more difference last night, but there is a few guys that are running heavy. 2 guys in particular are running quite heavy, and that is interesting reading.
Sorry, Matt. No, actually, no harm done. Mike went in a bit deep on the old hairpin and just had to collect up the back end, which has probably brought Ben into play. Certainly has. Ben is now the next one who's going to join this train. And Clouden needs to put his finger out a little bit because there's opportunities here.
Yeah, I think he's possibly suffering with a bit of front-end damage on that car from what happened at the start. Rob Smith saying, PN said 9 or 10. Rob Smith saying if F1 drivers dropped out with the same attitude as sim racers, the last race would be Max on his own. Not this season, it wouldn't.
Well, no, but he's got a good point.
Makes a very valid point, yeah.
Don't get me started again on retirements and for whatever reason, and if it's internet based or if it's equipment based, fair play, and I have no problem with that. But when people drop out just because they're not winning, that's when it starts to narc me a little bit, you know, because we're here to put on a show.
Yeah, indeed,
that's
we are.
What it's all about.
Chris is here this week. Chris is here this week. Evening, Chris.
Hey, we haven't heard from Chris for weeks.
We haven't heard from Chris for weeks. Where has he been? He's been on his jollies, I reckon. There's Will Freeman gaining onto the back of Dan Davis. Once again, Overtaker's now kind of sat in no man's land. Not really on Freedman and Dan, but has no longer got Mike to deal with behind him. So he's sat in a nice, comfortable position. Going to once again drop down to the Skunky, McGowan, Matt Wright and Carlos fight here because this is going on. Give them a bit of coverage down the back of the pack. So good to see for drivers here.
Yep, and Chris saying in the chat, it would be different if they had to pay to play. Now, I've suggested that in the past, Chris, about pay to play and entrance fee and all the rest of it. And then PM saying pay to fix the car. Well, if that was the case, then Team Audio Sport would be bankrupt. The amount of cars I've had to put right in the past, and probably not from my current team, to be fair.
Probably not this season. I'd say more from you.
Yeah, thank you.
He's here every week. He's just been sat back watching. There we go.
Don't get involved.
Well, it's nice to hear from you, Chris, again. Hopefully you're ready for the touring cars this weekend. Let's go back to Freeman and Dan. That's the closest fight, or was the closest fight, because as we go back to Dan and Freeman, Freeman's now dropped off the back of Dan again and has fell into the clutch of Overtaker once more. Swindlemack is home from work, so can finally watch a bit of racing. Great to have you with us, Swindlemack, once again as well. Mike can't shake off Ben yet. And Overtaker, Freeman, Overtaker and Dan are a bit very strange at the minute. Freeman's one, and I think it's Freeman. At one stage he's on the back of Dan and looking racy with Dan. The next minute he's on Overtaker. Whereas Overtaker and Dan don't really seem to be losing out or gaining on each other.
No, Dan goes very deep on the exit of the hairpin there. And I said about Clouden pulling his finger out, and he has pulled back 7/10 in the last lap. Now Ben is right on the back of Mike Matthews and looking racy. It's certainly ebbing and flowing, Matt, but nobody really attacking or getting the opportunity to.
Yeah, interesting to keep our eyes on. Go down to Carlos as well, because Matt Wright's within a couple of tenths of him. Still taking Skunky with him. Back to Ben Rook here then at the moment. who's trying to get onto the back of Mike Matthews. Jamal's slowly crept onto the back of the pair of them, but not massively.
Well, you say slowly. I mean, he's made half a second up in the last lap. So yeah, he's gaining about half a second a lap. So he is dragging it down. He is going to come into play in a minute, and then you've got a long gap, a big gap back to Carlos. But we are 6 minutes away from the pit window opening, and that could change things dramatically. And apart from Hooper, we haven't had any track limits penalties yet, but I think we might have toward the end of the night.
But we've still got 40 minutes to go. Chris says he's supporting Rowbottom. I think Rowbottom will be okay. That Ford didn't. Daniel Rowbottom.
I know you, mate.
All right, okay. I didn't think the Ford looked all that, so let's wait and see what happens there. But Ben on the back of Mike Matthews, still closest fight on track at the moment, and what a shame for Ben. His car's just kind of let him down as the season's gone on. Still's now 2.5 seconds behind Tardock as we come into this season finale here at Donington Park. It's going to go back down to Carlos and Matt Wright there within a couple of tenths with Skunky with them as well. So wherever we look, Kelly, there's cars with each other, but like we say, nobody can just make a move at the moment.
No, absolutely right. They're just kind of following in behind. It's what I said about this track. You know, if you haven't got a clear advantage, then it's difficult to get the job done. And PN saying in the chats, Kelly, you have a whole yard full of ex-sim race cars, mate. If these were real cars, I'd have a warehouse full of them. You know, McLarens, Porsches, Renaults, all sorts of crap.
The Audio Sport bonfire night is a real thing. And Dan's Porsche, and I think Ben's Aston's going on it at the end of this season. I think the only cars that's possibly not on it is your Renault. Dan's project car's 2 Porsches. Dan's project car's 2 McLaren.
Hey, and I've been beaten to death. This is my McLaren now for a few seasons. Well, all the seasons that we've been on ACC, I've been in this McLaren. So I'm getting my money's worth out of this one. 750s aren't so 720s aren't cheap, you know.
No, they're not. As Will Freeman's back within 2 tenths of Dan. So let's go back to that fight. Really, every fight here is just ebbing and flowing, and we're just having to go back. And again, look, he's put 2 seconds between himself and Overtaker. Mike's managed to now start to pull away from Ben a little bit. And let's see what Freedman does. So the gap down to Overtaker is about 2.2 seconds, maybe 2.3. So let's see what happens with Will Freedman here, because it's him that keeps dropping back to Overtaker. Mike is definitely, look in the background, pulled away from Ben, so he's going to try and head after Overtaker now to catch up to him there, and let's see what happens.
Yes, indeed. Still a little bit of chat of the British Touring Car this week. Starts this week. Matt will be there. Come and join him for a drink at Donington Park, the season opener. And I'm just here sitting thinking who I'm going to get behind this season. I had a pep talk with Jake Hill, genuinely, at Thruxton. I met him beforehand, and that's the beauty of British Touring Car. You can get up and personal with the drivers. You can meet them, have an actual chat with them really easily. And I had a chat with Jake Hill, and I told him that he got it in the bag last season. So you know, the commentator's curse doesn't always follow, but I'm just thinking I'm going to get behind this year, and I may not get behind anybody particular. I might be able to get behind a particular car. And what do you think that one might be, Matt? And before you say Honda, you know it ain't that.
I don't know if I need to answer that question, because we all know it secretly is the Honda. You said how nice the livery was on that car.
I did like the livery. I think
the
JPS Lotus as well.
I know. Yeah. I think if you want a driver, because I know you're going to get behind the Cupra, so I think you ought to go for Hall. Max Hall, I think his name is. Get behind the new guy. He looked pretty good in testing, and that Cupra looked all right. So maybe that could be your driver for the season, or the great Gordon Shedden.
Yeah, he's in the Cooper as well, isn't he?
No, he's in the Toyota. Sorry.
Nah, forget that.
Looks nice in the black this year, the Toyota does.
Yeah, well, that's lovely, but looking nice don't win races, does it? Because if that's the case, I would have won so many more than I have.
In that case, go Chris Smiley and Dan Lloyd, who's got the help of Matt Neal this season.
the legendary.
Hey, we had Nigel Mansell and Steve Soper mentioned, and Jason Plato. I understand Jason Plato being mentioned. I understand Steve Soper being mentioned. Nigel Mansell in a touring car aspect. doesn't even cut the mustard. You know,
not for me. I don't think it was his finest hour, to be honest with you. But
I remember him stacking it at the old hairpin, right in front of me, and go on the 55 Mondeo.
Formula One is one thing, touring car is something very different, and we've said this before. Put a load of current Formula One drivers in a touring car against the current touring car field and see how well they do.
Do you know who I'd really love to see have a go? Genuinely.
Yeah.
And you go back to the Super Tour era of Yvonne Muller, Matt Neal, Jason Plato, Alain Menu, Ricardo Rido, James Thompson, them kind of drivers. Chuck Max Verstappen in there. Go on, bud. Let's see how aggressive you can be now, because I think that would be chaos.
Oh, Ben's got it all sideways. Oh, that was a good catch. And I've got to be said, Ben's had some brilliant saves.
Hasn't he, today?
Yeah, and that was another one. I thought he was just entering the Drift Championships there. But Esteban Clouden right on the back of him. He's now within a couple of tenths. So Clouden is here, and he's in this battle now. Pit's going to open. These are all going to go past the pits this time round. The pits will open. I
tell you who might not, seconds. You know, Carlos Down might be able to get into the pit lane come the end of this. They've only just entered the chicanes. This is going to be interesting at the minute. Going to go back to Friedman and Dan. In fact, look, Friedman's dropped off the back of Dan and has now got Overtaker pretty close behind. So these come through with 20 seconds left. Can't do anything about the pit window. Maybe not, you know, maybe Carlos and that's all going to clear it as well. Evening to Paul Williams in the chat. And Rob Smith, going to support Nick Hamilton for the disabled community. I love Nick Hamilton. Such a guy. Really pleasant guy to speak with. Nice guy. Wish him the best of luck. Luke Cook in the chat. Put a touring car driver into an F1 car. He'll meet God within one lap.
He probably would. Yeah, it would be an expensive day out, that would.
I don't think he would, because F1 cars have got so much grip that he'd probably poo his pants, but I don't think he'd possibly, you know, cause that collision. Let's not forget Nikita Mazepin sat in an F1 car, so you know, we have got drivers in F1 that are probably worse than a touring car driver. But I do like the comment, Luke Cook. It is a pretty good one, a pretty fair one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But wouldn't we love to just see something like that? I'd like to see Jenson Button do British touring car. I think that would be interesting. But you know, it's not very many, apart from maybe I can think of Alain Menu, who was ex-Formula One, who did well as a touring car driver. But you got the likes of Mark Blundell, who did nothing. Do you know what I mean? I would really like to see some current ones in British touring car. There's not enough of that, is there?
Do you know honestly who I'd love?
Go on.
I'd love Lewis to fund a team, put two cars on the grid, him and Nick in a team.
Yeah.
You know, yes, it's Lewis Hamilton in his 40s, but I think that'd be brilliant.
I think it's a tough one for their egos. Do you know what I mean? If you join a series like this and get your arse handed to you, you know, Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport, so they say. You know, so they say, and to get your arse handed to you by what could we say, part-time professionals, you know,
some of them,
you know, would be really quite embarrassing for some of the F1 egos, as Ben Rook gets it all crossed up again, going out of McLaren's. And again, he's struggling with the back end. Entertaining to watch, though.
Van Zel says in the chat, stuck at work when I was supposed to race this one. Man, that sucks. Van Zel, we hope to see you back next season. Lewis Cook, was he actually quick compared to F1 driver times? I don't think McRae would have ever been quick compared to F1 driver times, but, you know, tyres gone within 4 laps. That's not going to help. You know, drivers can't just jump in a car and be instantly quick. You know, that's not what it's about. And we say pinnacle of motorsport, F1. It's world endurance nowadays. Has to be. Last weekend said it all. I watched 6 hours of Imola and I watched 2 hours of the F1. And even in its most dull times, the 6 hour of Imola was more exciting than the 2 hours of Formula One.
Ben Rook's just got in the pit.
So's Mike, so's Dan.
Yeah, a load of them have opted into the pit. I was calling F1 the pinnacle of motorsport by the investment and the development and so on and so forth. And that, you know, and probably the viewers and all the rest of it, not on pure racing, because, let's face it, we've all watched many dull Grand Prix, you know. So, the pinnacle of motorsport as far as development, technical, money, blah, blah, blah.
Rossi also drove the Mercedes car when Lewis had to go on his bike, and Lewis wasn't slow on his bike, and he wasn't slow in Lewis's Mercedes. So,
do you know what? I've said this. You can drive, and you can drive. Do you know what I mean?
Let's be honest as well.
Right.
Going on what you're saying, that you can drive and you can drive, right?
Yeah.
F1 is. I'm not going to say it's so easy for like the likes of me and you, but if you're a trained racing driver, you can jump in that Red Bull and be quick. Yeah. Sorry, bad example, because the Red Bull's set up for Max Verstappen. But you can jump in an F1 car and be somewhat decent from the word go. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's. Absolutely, and you know, is this why a lot of the F2 drivers coming up are so good? Because they've learned their craft in a car which is
harder to drive,
much harder to drive and much looser to drive, you know. And then they come to Formula One and find it a little bit easy. And I say easy, I say that as tongue-in-cheek as it could possibly be, because I have no doubt that any one of us could even get it off the line.
To me and you, it is the hardest, one of the hardest things in the world. You know, it's as hard as being an astronaut, but to a racing driver, it is, you know, it will come second nature to jump in a car and be quick. Luke Cook saying that I'm going to say it. Rally drivers are the most skilled. Rally drivers are the most skilled, and I will never argue that or debate that thing. That is just fact.
They're just disconnected, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? You have got to be, you know, to blind luck.
No fear.
No fear. You've got to go flat scat into a corner that your mate has just told you if it's good or bad.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, I will agree with that. My point was that if you can drive, you can drive. And let's take, I mean, Sebastian Loeb. I mean, multiple rally car driver, and then pretty much, you know, just I didn't think he had the minerals to be able to circuit race, but he kind of aced that as well. Like
Will Freeman, sorry Kelly, Will Freeman jumped Dan in the pit lane.
Well done, Will.
So there's been it is only just, but there's been a move done there. So we keep our eyes on that in regards to Overtaker as well. And you've hit the nail on the head. Sebastian Loeb, World Touring Cars, World Rally Championship. He's done other bits as well.
Yeah.
You know, I have no doubt that another person like him could be Max.
Yeah. And Tom, I'll throw Tom Christensen into that one as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what a driver! You only have to watch Race of Champions really to start to get an idea of drivers and drivers. You know?
The thing I find with Race of Champions, and I've watched it with Dan recently in the last couple of years, some of them, the last couple of seasons or championships was done on snow. Now, I don't care if the cars are equal or not. That is going to favour a rally driver over Jamie Chadwick, who had a go at it. You know what I mean? That's no disrespect to Jamie Chadwick, but that condition will favour rally drivers. Drive on gravel, dirt, tarmac, snow, everything. That will favour their skill set.
Yeah.
Can you put a rally driver in a touring car scenario? Yes, Sebastian Loeb is has proven that you can do it.
He is. I think you've got to look at, and again, I stand on my statement, if you can drive, you can drive. But rally car drivers drive a car that's loose, almost drift-like. The car is constantly sliding, where circuit racing is a little bit more precise, you know, and we all know, especially us that sim race and do any kind of amateur driving, that braking points, apexes, every traction zones, everything matters on circuit racing, you know. But as I said, if you can drive, you can drive.
Clouden has jumped Ben Ruck in the pits, so interesting to see here as well. Both Audio Sport drivers losing out of place by being jumped in the pits. Damien Hibbs is saying that TT riders, big balls is a mystery that they have. I think motorbike racing in general is big balls, because some of the even circuit motorbike racing, some of the crashes you can have in that. You know, you're putting your body. Clouden is weaving on the SimPlay straight here to get some temperature possibly into his tyres. But I think motorbike racing is Tordok apparently spun, lost 15 seconds to Overtaker. So where's Sylph? Sylph's coming around the final corner.
Yeah,
I'm glad Rob Smith's watching the race.
Me too.
Overtaker's clear before Tordok, look.
Yeah.
So one, did Overtaker change tyres? Two, is that how much time that Tordok did lose?
That's looking like it. Tordok is only now coming to the line.
Overtaker's jumped both Dan and Friedman. I don't think Takers took tyres.
Maybe not. We will. Well, we might not see if he's been gentle.
Overtaker was 2 seconds behind Dan. That gap is bigger than 2 seconds, so I think Taker's not took tyres.
Most importantly, this is kind of Tardoc's championship just falling away even further now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, getting to bike racing, that's just death on a stick. You have got to be completely disconnected for any kind of motorbike racing, and fair play to them, do you know what I mean? Especially the TT.
So 26 minutes left to go. Dan's on the back of Tardock at the moment. Friedman's chasing down after overtaker. I don't think Takers took tyres. To jump Friedman and Dan. Did Friedman take tyres?
Well, that did cross my mind.
Let's see. I mean, the track is only 19 degrees, so, you know, not overly hot.
Gamble, innit?
It depends how much you're sliding around. I'd have took tyres.
Yeah, so would have I.
I'd have took tyres. I think Donington's one of them circuits and it's easy to slide the tyres and just take that top layer off the tyres through the corners. So, yeah, I'd have taken tyres. So it's going to be interesting to see the pace difference at the end of this race. Friedman's already getting onto the back of overtaker.
Yeah, and catching quickly. There's the question: who's taken tyres, who hasn't, or is this just about pace? Dan was certainly the cork in the bottle before the round of pit stops, as it's now translated into different pace for different people.
Yeah.
Overtaker's still not looking overly quick, is he?
No,
although
he's not.
Done the business, and he's now in second place, and that's a absolute second place after now all the pit stops are done. But he's still not looking overly comfortable, not looking at the overtaker that we kind of know.
This to me then would suggest that maybe Friedman did take tyres and that overtaker's tyres are already hurting. Like I say, just easy to have a car, but be a bit slidey through some of these corners. I know from Tuesday night, even in the GT4, so on the exit of some of the corners, it was easy to just slide the car out. Look, Taker didn't get a great run through the chicane here. Friedman's coming to the outside line. We've seen how good Dan's been around the outside at this first hairpin on the traction zone, setting him up for the next part. Taker has a wiggle on exit, look, and that could be all down to tyres. Friedman's through, Tardock and Dan's now with him.
Yeah, overtaker took that tighter line, just lost out on traction, back end complaining. Did he not take tyres with the gamble of putting himself in a podium position and take his chances on worn tyres? You know, it's last race of the season, why not try it? You know, what's he got to lose? And now Tardock is right up behind Overtaker, and he's having a look down the craners. It's brave out there, but we know these MSA boys are not afraid to try it round the outside, as Tardock has a look to the inside on the old hairpin, but Overtaker's got that one covered. Will Freeman's now pulling away. Will Freeman is now pulling away, so there's a big pace difference there already. This is going to be an interesting one to see what will happen in this race. Sylph, though, 11 seconds in the lead, fastest lap. This is championship decided, you'd say, from here for Sylph, barring anything disastrous going wrong. But at the minute, Overtaker, who just looks a little twitchy through corners at the moment, Kelly, he does,
has got Tardock right on the back of him. Jamal Clown looks like he's catching Mike behind. Tardock actually just showing the nose to Overtaker through the chicane. Taker again, look, poor, horrible run. The back end just stepped out a little bit. Tardock up the inside, and that could be thank you mama for the carrots, as Tardock holds the apex, gets alongside, gets past, job done. And look at the kind of traction out the hairpin Dan's just got. He's now right on the back of Overtaker. Beginning Overtaker having a look down the inside, but it's a day late and $1 short on that one. So Tardock, Overtaker getting mugged every lap at the moment. It's more and more like he didn't take tyres, isn't it? And just took his chances. Because he did, he wasn't that much slower than Friedman and Dan. He was just he couldn't catch them, but he wasn't losing to them. So he was kind of matching them for pace. Was Overtaker. Now it just looks like his pace has gone.
Yeah, I mean, if he hasn't taken tyres, then I think it was a brave gamble, and you can see what he was thinking, but it might just drop him all the way down the order, because now Dan's all over him like a cheap suit as they come up to McLean's again, but it's a hard one to pull through there. There's only a couple of people who can do it in Matt Claims.
Oh, he did there, Kelly. I've never heard that name before.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a good one, wasn't it? Only Neil and Duffin can make it happen up there. And I don't always know that Matt Neal was on the track when he did it, but the Honda were always good on the grass, weren't they?
Don't know what you mean. The British GT Honda stayed on the circuit while the Lamborghini was cutting the grass. There's no Lamborghinis here tonight. It's Porsche versus Mustang. It's the old two rivals of Dan Davis and Overtaker as Taker tries to get it stopped on the apex. Dan won't mind that, or he might actually, because Plato to perfection from Overtaker. They did not let Dan use that traction out the corner to get ahead, and Overtaker really defending hard here as Dan looks to go underneath Overtaker again, and you just see how much better the Porsche is through the hairpin over Overtaker's full Mustang. I think the Porsche looks the best car out the hairpin in general tonight, but Dan Davis certainly putting Overtaker on that back foot and is making him work very, very hard for this fourth place. Now, Friedman and Tarlock have checked out.
They certainly have. Talk about checked out. I think your the championship leader must be telling his fat female friend to gargle some water, because she's about to start singing.
She is about to start singing.
With 20 minutes to go, he's 11 seconds up the road. I mean, do you know what I mean? He's got his arm on the window and is just cruising.
Overtaker very squirrely on the exit of McLean's there in towards Coppice. Dan just being patient. Dan ran a little wide with Overtaker, but it didn't hurt. And just look, even out of Coppice, Dan's just got a better run out of Coppice. Knows that Mustang's going to be better in the straight line. Down the SimPlay straight they come, into the S's once more. Keep your eye behind as well, because Jamal Clouden's getting on Mike Matthews. Taker gets another horrible run. Defends the inside line over Dan Davis. Down towards a hairpin they come. This is where Taker must know that Dan has been strong, and Dan's just going to drive round the outside. Taker forces him a little wider than normal, but Dan slingshots out the corner, being that little bit wider. He's got up the inside of Overtaker in towards Goddard's. Taker and Dan into the hairpin. There you go. Taker squeezes Dan as much as he dares, but Dan Davis gets through. What's happening behind? Because Jamal Clouden is he's just gone a little wide on exit there as he's on the rear of Mike Matthews. Overtaker now looking to get past Dan, but just looks twitchy even there on the straight. Maybe
under braking.
I'm just wondering now, look, has Overtaker maybe got a controller issue? We know he's a pad runner. That looked a little twitchy there under the braking. Has he got maybe a controller issue? Maybe not tyres.
Yes, for those who don't know, Overtaker runs the pad, or the PlayStation controller, over his steering wheel pedals, and he's got to be the best man on that pad, hasn't he?
100%,
yeah, he's absolutely got it dialed, but he seems to be struggling now. Dan set him up well, and Overtaker gave him enough room, only just enough room, but enough room, and that's fair racing.
Fair racing, and you just kind of know that them two have been rivals for a while, because that was Overtaker not wanting Dan to get past, not allowing Dan to get past, squeezed him as much as was legal, should I say, and got the move done, did Dan, and heck of a move. We're watching Jamal and Mike. I'm just going to drop down. In fact, no, I'm not going to stay with this a second. Mike, did he get a very good run? Defends inside over Clouden. And Clouden, I don't think, is going to get that move done. It's not like the Porsche at McLaren. Look, that's where Dan's been able to slingshot out there on the traction and get up to be on the inside for Goddard's. Clouden couldn't do that. Just going to drop back to Matt Wright, who's
Jamal
got skunky. What's Jamal done?
Tapped Mike, gave Mike a tap just into the last hairpin. Clouden stops and waits for him, but these two have been going at it this meeting.
Yeah, they have. Oh, Matt Wright's just lost out to both Skunky and McGowan in towards Goddard, so didn't get to see what happened there either. But yeah, them two's made contact. Again.
A couple of times tonight, not vibing these two. Gave Ben Rook 2 positions, thank you very much. I'll thank his mama for the carrots, thank you.
I think Chris is in the chat.
Yeah, that's Chris, I'll thank you for the carrots, because that just gave Ben 2 points, and 2 more points for Audio Sport. Boom, 2nd place, baby. Sorry, who was the competition? Who was it? I can't hear you. That's where they both drop it in a minute, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah. Just looking further forward, Dan looks like he's gapping Overtaker. We're still sticking with his Mike Matthews and Jamal Clouden fight as they come into the chicane once again. 17 minutes gone. Makes me wonder, Clouden had no pace over Mike, so 1, did Clouden fix damage? 2, did Mike change tyres? Because all of a sudden now, since the pit stops, Clouden looks racy.
Yes, indeed, although I do think Mike is defending hard. He, again, just dived to the apex to cover it off. I think probably Mike's looking in his mirrors now, especially after that last incident, as Mike goes a little bit deep, and but powers out of the in the traction zone, runs wide, but gets the power down the straight. So Clouden having a look, Jinx out to the outside again. Mike got that covered off. A masterclass in defence.
He must have read Kelly Davis's Idiot's Guide to Defend Him, because it looks a fantastic job at the moment. No, I apologise. Kelly Davis, one of the best defenders at SimPlay Motorsport. But Mike's doing a cracking job of keeping Clouden behind him. Look, Clouden runs a little wide, carrying too much speed through at the moment. Track limits warnings for both audio sports drivers. And I don't know if that's an emoji of you with zips over over the mouth, or if that's just to keep quiet before you jinx them. But either way... Sorry, Kelly. There was a few digs in that sentence there.
Yeah, there was. That was dig after dig, to be fair, Matthew. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was plenty of them there, you know, so, I'll remember you. Don't you worry about that.
You've had plenty in on me. Duffin Chop was the biggest one, you know.
Absolutely. And you talk to me about defence, you know, jeez.
Tardock's passed Will Freeman and gapped him by 1.2 seconds. Keep your eyes on the gap between Ben and Overtaker. That's 1.6. Mike's dropped Clouden a little bit here. Ben just gaining. I'm going to drop back down to Matt Wright, who's on the back of Skunky once again. This is the closest fight now on circuit as they come through the chicane. 15 minutes left to go in this race. It was around this time you decided to put your feet up and have a nice cup of tea.
And the blows keep on coming, man.
I'm sorry.
Honestly,
I'm sorry.
Do you feel like I'm going to renew my contract to commentate next year? I haven't signed yet.
I kind of feel like you will. You love it here. 33 people currently watching. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit the bell to be notified. We're nearly at 950 subscribers. So that is fantastic this season. We want to be at 1,000 by the end of the day. That will be the bonus. Also, we'll get, Kelly needs to load this up, but we'll get an audio sport update on that YouTube channel if you subscribe. While we speak of the sponsors, please check out our sponsors in the description below. Dime Manchester, producers of vinyl graphics, laser engraved gifts, mugs, printed clothing, and much more, including SimPlay Motorsport merchandise. The link to his Facebook page is in the description. And go to Audio Sport. Yeah, just saw that. And Audio Sport as well. Manufacturer VW Transporter, T4 Audio Solutions and Styling Products. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk. Link is in the link to the Facebook is in there as well. Let's go over to their YouTube channel, and all you got to do is hit the subscribe button. Because Kelly, how many are you on?
Okay, drum roll. We started the season, I believe, with 86, I want to say. We are now up to 88.
88. Wow.
So thank you so much for your support, you guys in the chat. You 33 people watching couldn't be bothered just to flick over to audio. I don't even care if you watch the videos.
Don't even have to watch the videos, guys.
I couldn't care less. No. Couldn't care less. All I want you to do is flick the subscribe. Have I not entertained you this season? Have you not, rightly or wrongly, been entertained by what I've said and how I've said it? And you can't give me a one measly subscription? Apart from Rob Smith, I know he was one of the two. Well done, Rob. Thank you. The rest of you, come on. We're a community. Help me out here, innit?
Chris is asking where the donation button is. If it's for the Just Giving, it's linked to the top of the page. If it's for the YouTube channel, I'm not 100% sure where that has possibly gone. I'll have to have a look into that for next season. But Matt Wright has started to close out. Ben's now within a second of Overtaker. Clouden's back within a second of Mike. So Ben's starting to come on Overtaker here.
Yes, absolutely. I've been on board with Matt Wright, and this scrap has got a little bit stale now. So what else is happening? Clouden has dropped back from Mike a little bit, and seems to be holding station. Ben, of course, has made up to Overtaker. Overtaker definitely struggling. Ben, you be careful on those track limits, my friend. We need those points, although saying that, being in front of Overtaker would be better.
Chris, I've just checked on YouTube itself. I'm not 100% sure, so me and Michael have a look into that as to where that donation button has gone. But if you are in the Discord, there's a PayPal. You can drop a donation to the channel. And again, thank you everybody for the support. Tips dropped a sub the other week. Thank you, Tips. Oh, Tips dropped a sub to your YouTube channel the other week.
Well, there's the other one. There's the other one then.
Well done,
that's
Tips.
the
Thank
two.
you.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Yeah, always a pleasure to have you around. Always been a fan of yours.
Yeah.
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 The rest of you, take heed.
Yeah. I've subscribed on. I was already subscribed on channels a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
No, the last time I probably put a video up.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, I probably watched that video. Do you know what? What I thought of today? By the way, me and Dan had a chuckle earlier. I thought of something today. This week, this build-up to the Nordschleife event this week, we spoke about it earlier in the season, is 4 years since we done our last Nordschleife charity event, yeah?
Yeah.
Right? Damien Hibb says, go check your subs now. Hey,
thank you.
Go.
I will in a minute. Yeah.
Yes, Chris, thank you very much. He's going to give extra to the Just Giving. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. 90! We're up to 90, Matt! 90!
See? Yeah.
There's only 10 away from 100. It'll only take me another...
Oh, look at this.
Seasons.
Look at this. Ben just having a look up the inside of Overtaker. Clown's having a look at Mike Ben. Anyway, I was watching a video earlier that come to my mind as Ben nearly clouts the back of Overtaker there and nearly lost the 2 places he gained earlier.
Yeah.
It was a certain Kelly Davis reading out from a script about the last Cancer Research charity event, speaking of videos.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, that popped into my head. Yeah.
I'd forgotten I'd done that, and then it came up. I think I was trawling through some videos to...
Mike's got wiggly on the grass. Sorry, Kelly. Jamal could have a run down the crane of curves. Jamal inside. Denny's going to be on the outside. Mike will have that racing line going into the old hairpin, but Jamal's going to go up the inside. They touch slightly. Both get away with it. Jamal through and up to 7th place.
Handbags with those two for sure. Jamal now can get on and see if he can catch up to the back of the 2 in front of him, because they're certainly gaining on them anyway, you know. So Ben needs to get this done in a minute, because he's going to have Clouden all over the back of him very soon.
He is indeed. But yeah, so that popped up for the Sabine Schmitz charity cancer research event.
I did that. Yeah,
it didn't pop up for me for some reason. I came home and me and Dan was on about videos, and I said I mentioned that one, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't even know if there's any way that you can see that now, which is probably quite lucky. But that was 4 years ago, and we are staring down the neck of doing another one, and we want you involved as much as possible. Thank you for those people who've donated money already. But again, Ben hard on the brakes into that hairpin, that final hairpin, and Ben, stay off the grass. We don't need another penalty. I see Lexi's turned up 9 minutes before the end of the evening, but lovely that you've turned up, my friend, and always good to see that you're there in the chat. Of course, our Pro-Am commentator, and is she planning to do the whole 24?
I believe she's doing the whole 24 hours on her own.
Yeah, fair play. We'd love to see how that pans out. One driver for the whole 24 hours. It's been done. It's been done in the past, and we'd love to see it again. That would be a great effort.
I tell you what, I'm watching this. Mike's on the back of Clouden, but Overtaker is just struggling out there. Yeah. I'm not sure if this is a pad issue, you know, the controller issue. Cause his steering just looks a little off to me. We'll see either way.
That could be fighting the tyres. You imagine driving on a pad, you've only got a small window of what you do with your thumb.
Taker got a poor run through the chicane. Ben's coming and having a look. Got a break early enough, get it stopped. Mike's still having a look at Jamal. Mike's not let Jamal go here. And again, look, Taker just slides out the hairpin that he is. Let's go on board with Overtaker. Let's take a look at this.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how a pad works, so imagine the small margins to turn it and the small margins that you need to accelerate gradually, you know, with tyres on their way out. I take my hat off to the guy, I really do.
Well, 100%, and like you say, one of the best pad users that I've ever seen in sim racing, full stop, fair play.
And I mean, he was epic on Project Cars, and I remember him saying that he wasn't going to join ACC because he just couldn't do it on the pad. But he seems to have got the hang of it over the last 7 seasons.
He has indeed, and won a race this season. Dan Davis going to go winless in a championship. I don't remember the last time we saw Dan Davis go winless in a championship. So
I would say look out next season.
Oh, 100%. I'm not saying that Dan's not going to be back to take a win, but it's just very strange to see.
Ben
says he's
with that back end loose. Honestly,
PN's got a couple of pads spare, apparently ready for the Nordschleife 24.
Excellent. Are you doing it on pad as well, Phil?
Yeah, Phil's pad.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. I don't think I could do it anymore, Matt. I really don't.
No, I can't.
I mentioned Adam from the Kawasaki Centre earlier in my little story, and he started to play the game now. He's got ACC, and he's been driving it on the pad, and now he's getting to the point where he's now starting to twiddle with the setup and seeing how important that is. And I told him everything is relevant.
PlayStation?
Yes, of course.
PlayStation. There we go. Get him involved. Send him the Discord.
He's not one of them, you know. He's starting to get. Sorry, Xbox users. No, actually, I'm not. He's getting to just tweak with the car, and I said to him, "You wait till you get it for steering wheel." And he's looking at one. He's looking at a G29, which we know are bulletproof. Bulletproof, certainly for starting up, and. I said to him, you wait till you get on the wheel. It totally changes things. You have to start all over again, the way you learn how to drive and what you need to do. But for all the years I've been on a wheel, I couldn't go back, Matt. I couldn't do it.
No, I couldn't do it neither. Just want to point out that Ben has now fell off the back of Overtaker due to not being able to get past him. It's allowed Jamal and Mike to come onto the back of Ben. I think we've got a four-way fight to the end here, Kelly. Tordot's got within 6 seconds of Silf, and that's not through Silf losing pace. That's through Tordot gaining on him. So Tordot's just been a bit quicker in this race. Got the fastest lap back as Tordot. It's all going to count for nothing. Jamal just on the grass a little bit there, down in towards the Melbourne hairpin once again. And Overtaker's just now starting to run a little deep on these tyres. He's going to hang on in for at least a minimum of P8. I don't think Carlos is going to gain 10 seconds in 5 minutes, but where will he be? Will he be 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th? That's going to be the biggest question.
Yes, indeed. And in the chat, Lexi said that I'm an Xbox. I'm on Xbox. Well, don't worry, Lexi. You are young, and you've still got time to understand the error of your ways. Rob Smith said, all the best are. Rob, I am disappointed in you. I thought you were better than that.
Yeah.
But never mind.
PS5s are like Guinness. They're just quality.
No. PlayStations are like Cornish oven pasties, and you know what they taste like.
Yeah, and they are quality. Let me tell you. Oh, even cold.
Xbox equals Ginsters.
I won't go that far. Either way, this is a train behind Overtaker here, and he is pulled well out the way of Ben to not give him the slipstream there. I'm just wondering if it is a controller issue. That just didn't look natural. And again, look, he's so slow through the chicane. He's Overtaker, losing time. And let's see what happens here. In towards the hairpin. Ben kind of defending from Clouden. Overtaker defending from Ben. Mike's having a good time watching all this develop.
Yeah. In the chat, unfortunately, Lexi asking Rob if he's doing the 24, and unfortunately he's not for whatever reason, in-laws or whatever. But I hope you'll be supporting us, Rob, no doubt. And Alexi saying, we really starting a PlayStation Xbox debate? No, we're not. There is no debate.
No, you're right.
None at all.
It's all about the Nintendo Switch.
Absolutely.
Overtake Mike.
Up the Atari.
Yeah, go on the Sega Mega Drive.
ZX Spectrum.
A bit too old for me, that. Lexi probably doesn't even know what a Sega Mega Drive is. That's how old we've gone back there. Do you know what I mean? Swindle Max says that wheels and pedals allow much more immersion for me, but I'm amazed with the guys on controllers who have serious pace. Let's see that. PN says I've got both, so I don't know if PN's on about he's got wheels and pedals or just serious pace. Either way. I think he's on about the games.
Yeah, I think. And PlayStation.
I think that's what he's on about, but yes, you see what I did there. 007 on the N64 GoldenEye, isn't it, if I remember rightly?
But yeah, could be. I've been pretty much PlayStation man all the way, and for me, Matt Hoffman Pro BMX on PlayStation 2. What a game! What a game! So Jamal gets ever so close to Ben into the hairpin. He could almost have reached over and just tapped him on the shoulder then, but no harm done, nobody touched. Overtaken very deep into the last hairpin, Matt, but I still don't think that Ben's got the traction himself to be able to capitalise on it. But Mike Matthews back in the fight as well. He's right on the back of this four-way fight. This is the best one on track at the moment. Everyone else is checked out. Zardock is catching stealth a little bit, but not quick enough. We've only got 2 minutes left of this race, and it could all still change very quickly if these lot come together.
It could all still change. This is the fight we're watching. Just going to drop down and look at Matt Wright, who's got Skunky and McGowan. They've had a good little scrap as well. Probably not had the coverage that they have deserved tonight. They've had a good little fight themselves. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what will happen at the end here. Taker's definitely running thin on tyres, I reckon.
Absolutely, and the whole debate, the whole debate is on consoles now. And yes, Rob, I do remember the grandstand console. I go back. I call myself a first-generation gamer because I go all the way back to Pong and Atari and all that. Back when I was just a mere boy, you know, like 10 years ago.
Oh, Ben had a little look on Overtaker there. Overtaker's very deep. Ben holds it tight here. Ben's going to have a run on Overtaker. The problem is, will that allow Jamal Clouden to look up the inside of Ben? Overtaker manages to pull out in front a little bit more. Clouden goes a little deeper than Ben, looks to the outside line. He's not going to make that one stick. Ben manages to do it. We're on the final lap of this race, I do believe. Self is trying to catch Tarlock. Clouden's looking each way to Sunday to try and get past Ben. This has been a fantastic scrap all night. Clouden nearly in the back of Ben there, and Overtaker's tyres must be hanging on for dear life, for grip as well. Swindlemack, I've been around since the days when Pong came out. Yes, I'm old, sort of. Yeah, there we go. So Swindlemack, that's fantastic to see. But at the minute...
I owned a genuine Space Invader machine, a proper arcade one for years. That's how go right back to the arcade days. Up the first generation.
Right, Kelly, I want you to keep an eye on this fight because I am going to tune in just a moment to that of Sylph, who's going to come to the line and become champion as he exits the Melbourne hairpin. Sylph is on his way to take a race win in fantastic style here tonight. He's taken it with 2 race wins. What a job to do it at the final week. He's not won since back at week 4. But Sylph is going to be your new pro champion and crosses the line. Tardock second place with the fastest lap. Will Freeman, has he done enough to maybe steal that third place against Dan Davis in the Drivers' Championship? We'll see. He comes across for third. Dan Davis is going to get P4, but we're going to ignore Dan across the line because these 4 have got 1 corner left, and Overtaker's going to do it. Overtaker has somehow hung on to this next position. We're going to drop back down to Matt Wright, who's got Skunky with him for a fight. Who's got McGowan, with him for a fight. Good job here by all these drivers. Mike Matthews would have crossed the line P8. Jamal Clouden was P7. Overtaker hung on for P5 in this one. Carlos is going to cross the line in P9. What a day of racing here at Donington Park. Shame we lost a couple of drivers in this mid-session, in this second race, because it could have been an absolute blinder. But Matt Wright is going to hang on here over McGowan for P10 and 11. What a fight between them two. Skunky comes across the line for P12, and we've just got to wait for Maya to come across the line as well. Great scrap, great day. Overtaker, well done to hang on in there at the very end. Let's just get a quick poll up on the stream for driver of the day.
While you're doing that, I'll just finish off the comments. And Alexi, you really need to tune in early, Alexi. I'm going to be on the comms. Matt's going to be on the comms. Dan's going to be on the comms. Everyone's going to be on the comms except yourself, because you've opted to drive all the way through. Unless we can get you in on the comms and you can drive at the same time, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It would be interesting.
But we're all going to be on the comms for the 24, and we want everybody to join us. Oh God, driver of the day. That's a tough one. I haven't even thought about that, Matt, to be honest with you.
Well, you have a think while we jump over to the Discord chat.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go right there, right now.
And into the Discord chat we jump. I've left the wrong... No, put the wrong thing in.
Okay, Matt's just playing around with his wires at the moment, and I'm sure he's going to join us in the comms box any second. At the moment, it's just me and him. No one else is sure. Here he is. He's in now, and he's with us. So, we're just here on our own at the moment.
We are at the moment. We'll wait for anybody who comes in for a quick interview, but that is the end of another fantastic season here at SimPlay Motorsport. McLaren, once again, manufacturers' champions. That was done a few weeks ago. MSA beat off Team Audio Sport, Greasy Bandits third with SimPlay Racing, fourth, Quantum Motorsport fifth, Old School Racers sixth, Team SPR ahead of Team FBR, Effect Motorsport and Red Run Racing. And in then, the Drivers' Championship. What a season it's been up and down this grid. But it is Sylph who is going to be your Season 7 champion. 14 GT3 seasons. And 7 on ACC, 7 on Project Cars. But it's Sylph who is your newest champion. 39 points ahead of Tardock. Dan Davis hangs on in there for third place. 10 points clear of Will Freeman. Ben Rook gets 5th place overall ahead of Overtaker and then O'Reilly in 7th. Hooper 8th. With Cloud in 9th. Matt Wright 10th. Mike Matthews in 11th. Then Patrick Ledger, Tobias Hoffer, Michael Harris, Carlos Skunky. If we go through the drivers that we'd lost as well, Shundlemeyer would have been 17th, then Viper, Gary Leach, Darren Yeo would have been 20th, Cal Seth McGowan, Williams, Maya O'Brien would have been then Beasley, Unsworth, Van Zyl, Sanko, Newman, Bates, Richie Collin and Pocket. Didn't even start the season, but we are joined by the two championship protagonists and our newest champion. We will start, I think, first with Tardock, who has had the chance of 2 championships this week, but it was a pretty tough task in both. But what a season you've had nonetheless.
It don't feel like a good season right now. No, to be fair, race 2s, I've been flawless. It's been a good season, that side of things. Race 1, I've been terrible. Like, if you look at results-wise, there's no getting around it. Got too many pens because I was too eager to close the gap.
I must admire your work this race 1 tonight, because it looked like you could see the urgency to get to the front as quick as possible and try and keep Sylph behind you.
Yeah, I was trying to be a good boy today and do it patiently, get through the grid, but once I saw he come out in front of the pits, I felt like I needed to make some moves.
Made some moves indeed you did. You look like your favourite overtaking spot was the chicane.
I do like the chicane. It's not the best place to overtake, but I'll give it a go.
You certainly did. You certainly did a couple of times. And congratulations. Great season. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching you and Sylph this season. The pair of you went from the back in race 1. So you're racing, your team with the same equipment, and you obviously know each other really, really well. But the two of you seem to be able to do things with the car that none of the rest of the field could do, overtaking on the outside into the chicane and all the rest of it. All things being equal, you must be very happy with your season.
I'd prefer to have won.
Okay.
I'm going to lose.
Spoken like a true racer. Spoken like a true racer. So no doubt you'll be back next year to give it a go.
Absolutely. I'll return in a car that I know how to use. I know the ins and outs in the Fiat or Ferrari, whatever you want to call it.
Same thing.
And I will try and win it.
We look forward to that. Because I think there's going to be a few people who are going to want to give you a run for your money. So, as I said, I was certainly yourself and your this season. So, I look forward to another season for sure.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Absolutely.
Well, Craig, congratulations tonight. 2 P2s, great championship from yourself for 2nd place. Well done, and we'll hopefully see you next season.
Yes.
And just notice that Dan Davis is in the chat. We'll grab a quick word with Dan before we speak to our Season 7 champion. Dan, Porsche looked all right tonight. Porsche didn't look a bad car. Obviously, we know how well you go through British tracks, and Porsche looked like it was doing you a bit of good tonight.
Yeah, surprisingly, it was better than I thought when it came to race time, but I think it's just the knowledge of how to pass people around here really helped me out. Not the car itself, just turn 1, the hairpins, everyone just pushing the limits and just being patient at times. But I just want to say a massive congratulations to the MSA boys. They've been amazing this season. However much I'm sick and tired of looking at that Mustang, they have definitely been the best of the best around here, and I had no answer in the Porsche. So, worthy champions, and again, massive congratulations to Sylph on this one, because I had no answer this year, but well done to those boys.
And similar to Tardot, really, you're looking at changing machinery next year. Unless felt like tonight was enough to keep the Porsche, you're looking at changing machinery and having another go at it next year. It's going to be an interesting one to see if you can try and regain, because these boys, with Will Friedman and a few other drivers on the track, it's all going to be interesting.
It is indeed. I mean, if Will did the whole season, I'm pretty sure he would have been third in the championship and he would have been the better Porsche driver. But I love going wheels with Will. He's a fantastic driver, and you can go flat out with him. And like I said, he probably should have deserved third this season, but with me doing a bit more, hanged in there. But the Porsche's on fire to me. Even though it's my favourite, even though it's one of my favourite cars ever, on this game it's not really competitive enough, I don't think. But when the MSA boys get bored and they decide to leave, I might bring it back.
Dan, I just want to say congratulations. Big thank you to you and Ben. Sport into second place in the championship, and along with SimPlay Racing, the two greatest names in SimPlay Racing, SimPlay Motorsport. And I'd just like to say thank you two. In between you, unfortunately, but still hung in there and proved that consistency gets results. So thank you to both of you for taking the great name to second place at least.
Yeah, we gave it a good go at the end of the day. Like I said to these boys, they were just better than us. My first season working with Ben, I thoroughly enjoyed it. We worked really well. Reminds me of an old good teammate that I used to have. But
well, thank you, Dan.
I was talking about DBs.
I knew that.
But no, we're going to come back stronger. We're looking at a car that both of us are going to drive together. We're going to learn it together. There are a couple of options, but I think majority reckon they'll know what I'll be in next season.
Yeah,
But,
you've dripped on about it enough.
I like the Lamborghini, all right?
Yeah. It's a Volkswagen. Yeah, so it's kind of in there.
But yeah, well done to the MSA boys and well done to Stilt and Tordok as well. It's just been phenomenal. I can't stick with that pace, so good job from those boys.
Cheers, man.
Well done to you, Dan, on this season. We are going to go now try and move champion from one champion to the next. Sylph, what is your first name? Is it David?
Yes.
It is. I thought it was on the side, but I couldn't remember. All season I've not wanted to get it wrong. Either way, cracking season from yourself. GT4s, GT3s you've come across. And it's been really good. I don't believe you drive the Mustang either, is it? It's not your go-to car, is it? So to come in it and win a championship, that's really well done.
Yeah, thank you. It's the first season I've driven it, and I'll be glad to see the end of it. To be honest, I'm not enjoying it. If I'm completely honest.
Davis, first time we've spoken, and congratulations on a cracking season, entertaining and congratulations on the championship. For a man enjoying the car on the outside, down through the craners with Dan, that was pretty impressive in race one.
Yeah, squeaky bum time, but yeah,
for both of you, I believe. Yeah, but great move and some great driving this season. So congratulations, and we look forward. I look forward to seeing what you can do in whatever you choose for next season. Because I presume you'll be back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers.
Just talk us through a highlight of this season, really, for yourself, in which you think that maybe you could have beat your teammate to the championship.
Possibly Bathurst, but I think that's the only track that his number that's been on the calendar this season. Every other track he's just been quicker than me every race. So he's won most of race twos, which is thoroughly deserved. He's always 12 to 15 seconds up the road by the end of the checkered flag. So I haven't really got an answer for him. It's just I've got to pick up on his mistakes and try and be consistent, which I think that's how I've managed it, because I wouldn't know how otherwise.
Well, that you did. I think there's too many penalties at the end of the day, possibly cost Tordok. Either way, championship for the team, for yourself, bragging rights over your teammates as well into next year. Any car change, obviously, on the horizon? You just said you want to get out the Mustang. What's kind of the go-to car, or is that going to be sort of kept under wraps until the season starts?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I have, after watching Dan in the Porsche, I've been tempted to jump back in the Porsche and give it a go, see what I can do with it. I've always been a Lambo guy, to be honest, but I'm not as quick in it as I used to be, so no idea. Every prospect open.
Dan's got a cheap Porsche for sale. I'm sure he'll sell.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be.
Because
Porsche, more like a Beetle.
Yeah, because he's not letting me put it in the Team Audio Sport museum. He just wants to either burn it or get rid of it, so he might give it to you.
On a fantastic season. Season 7 champion, Dave Silf, then, will take that championship and will come and defend it next season. He now can run, whether he sticks with his same number or can run the number 1, that'll be down to him. I'm sure Dan will be repping the number 16 once again next year. But, Kelly, we have to pick the driver of the day. I'm going to go the way of Silf. I think he's had 2 race wins, great race wins for him tonight. New champion, worthy champion as well. The fans have gone for Silf. Give us your driver of the day and your final thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's... again, honourable mentions to Mark and Dan and Friedman as well. But yeah, I think Silf did more than he needed to do. He could have just followed second place to win this championship, but he did everything he needed to do. Both the MSA boys from back to front in the first. But for me, yeah, my driver of the day is going to be Silf as well this week.
Clean sweep for Silf, and that wraps up a fantastic set of championships. GT4, Pro-Am and Pro have all come to an end. In a week's time, we go to the Nordschleife for the charity event, 24 hours of the Nordschleife, where the qualifying will be brought to you on the 2nd of May. That driver then cannot start the race on the 3rd of May for their team, unless obviously it is a solo drive car. This is going to be an interesting event. Remember, links are all on the Discord. They'll be posted out on social media as well this week and pushed every day for the charity events. We head into that Nordschleife event. We'll be live with all the action. There'll be multiple commentators, multiple guest speakers, hopefully in the Discord, popping in and out to have a chat, whether it's about the race or anything, toppings on a pizza, whatever it may be. Come and join us there for that one. That will kick off at about 1:30 BST next Saturday. The stream will be maybe actually about 5 to 2ish. Actually, the stream will kick off next Saturday for that one. It's going to be an interesting day. You're not going to want to miss that. If you can donate, please donate. It's for a great cause. It's going to be a great charity event once again. And we now head into that 6-week break. There may be the odd special event. We'll see what we've got coming up. Obviously, the admins will discuss. Go on.
Don't worry, Matthew. We've got some ideas coming up. I've already come up with some crazy ideas already.
Yes,
and let's just say it
could be interesting.
Get on. That's going to be.
Let's just
tricycle racing.
Well, I was thinking more. Silf can get a little bit of extra practice if he does one of the fun events. If he wants the Beetle.
Netacomp is where it needs to be.
Let's see what happens then. So there will be some fun events coming your way over this next 6 weeks. Sign-ups will go out as soon as the admins have sort of released what is coming for the next season, and we get to go again with whatever the Tuesday night series will be. We'll see what that is. Will it be GT4s? Will it be something different? But Pro and Prime will be back, and we'll obviously be trialling the gold, silver, bronze thing a bit more next year as well. So keep your eyes out. Much to come as we head through. For that last time, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit the bell. Nearly at 950 subscribers. Absolutely great push from all of you out there. We can't thank you enough, Kelly. Can't thank you enough for joining me in the commentary box all season. Been an absolute pleasure.
Been my pleasure. It'd be my pleasure, and I will be back for next season. I would just like to say before we go, remember to about the Nordschleife, just because they're, they may not be normal SimPlay viewers, but let's try and get everybody involved as much as you can. What drivers are going to do is mean feat. It's a very tricky track, very, very difficult. It's going to be mentally and physically challenging for the driver. So tell your friends, let's get as many people viewing as possible. Enjoyed being back in the box. Prefer here than many more laughs here than I do behind the wheel, so I love being here in the commentary box. And I'd just like to say I'd like to tip my hat to everybody who races, you know, from the very top of pro and everyone in between. I have the utmost respect for everybody who gets involved and does the racing, but I've got to say this pro grid, Matt, is just ridiculous now, and the quality of drivers that in play. I mean, you know, we are the premier console league there, and it shows, because the quality of driving is just outstanding. And I'd like to say the admin team as well for everything that's done behind the scenes. This channel is all voluntary. Nobody earns any money from this. Nobody makes a profit from this. We do this for love doing it and the fun of doing it. So thank you, all the admin team, the behind the scenes, everyone puts money into it, you know, and our sponsor, Design Man, myself. I'd just like to thank everybody for their commitment, for Dan, Matt, Mike, PN, whoever I've forgotten. And, has everyone left and gone to sleep?
No, sorry, you cut out there, so I didn't get the end of that. No, but thank
I said thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Kelly, again at the very end as well.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to obviously say a few words. Obviously, I want to say a massive thank you to not just obviously the team, but you drivers as well. If it's not for you guys for signing up, we would not have a league. So I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's participated and got to the end of the seasons, especially the pro drivers. I know the pros want to win, but it is all just a bit of fun at the end of the day, and we're going into the off season, and all of us will still be available in the Discord to chat to, so we will be in and out, and we want to just push as much this community together as we can. I want to say a massive thank you to FBR and also the MSA boys. Those guys really do support our channel, and go and support FBR as well. They got events on as well, so go and support them. But if it wasn't for you guys in the community, we wouldn't have a championship. So massive thank you to all, and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, we'll see you all at the Nordschleife, where I'm probably going to fall asleep on the stream again.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Let's bring on next season. Season 8 of ACC will be right around the corner. We've got some fantastic tracks coming up, as well as some fun events in the off season. It's all about the Nordschleife in a week. If you are at Donington Port this weekend, or at Silverstone for the British GT, make sure you have a cracking weekend at the racing. If not, we'll see you live for all the action Friday evening. I believe myself, PN, and I think Kelly's going to try and be in there as well for commentary. That'll take place at around 8 p.m. BST for the qualifying for the Nordschleife. Once again, thank you all to everybody who's taken part, helped out, and commentated, driven, stewarded. Everybody in the audience as well, once again. We'll see you next time, though. Goodbye.
Good night.